now, happy Wednesday afternoon, and welcome to 580 Sports Talk. I am Brendan Dworzinski. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Dan Lucero is on vacation. He is out in the mountains of Colorado, the Centennial State, visiting some family for the holiday. Dan will be back with us coming up on Monday. Spencer Dupuis will be by a little bit later on in the show today. We've got to get to our Prairie Band football picks contest. He'll join us for the picks this week. He'll also join us for our November championship in What Is Wrong With You. That is all coming up at the 4 o'clock hour today. Spencer will be by for that. I'm with you all show long from now until 6 o'clock. Joined you just about 30 seconds late after the K-State women cruised to a win over DePaul in the third place game, the consolation game, if you will, of the Ball Dogs Invitational out in Las Vegas. So a good win for the Midi Cats today. Took it to the DePaul Blue Demons. So we are with you from right now until 6 o'clock this afternoon. We've got a boatload of stuff to get to in this show today. We'll talk plenty of Chiefs and Raiders coming up here in just a few moments as we get ready for what should be a fun one on Black Friday this week. Chiefs versus Raiders. Raiders week's always a fun time. We've also got Matt Derrick joining us this hour. Usually he joins us on Fridays, but because we are off Thursday and Friday for the holiday and we would be off for Chiefs football regardless on Friday. We will have him joining us today at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour. Matt will stop by to talk all things Chiefs versus Raiders. We'll also get to last night's KU doozy against the Duke Blue Devils. No matter how hard the officials tried, they could not stop that game from being an absolute banger. And no, I'm not just griping about the Hunter Dickinson ejection. I don't know that I love the call to eject him, but regardless, great game, great win for KU. KU winning without Hunter Dickinson on the floor, honestly, pretty dang impressive. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a little bit. A big, big, big win for the Jayhawks last night, and their big freshman down low, Flory Badunga. Ooh, very promising. Very, very promising performance in Las Vegas against Duke last night. As I mentioned, we've got our Prairie Band Sportsbook picks coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour today, as well as What Is Wrong With You. Our guest list, along with Matt Derrick, it includes Tim Fitzgerald, who normally joins us on Wednesdays. He'll take his normal spot at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour today for the Wildcat Wrap-up. And Paul Myerberg will stop by as well, college football writer for USA Today. He'll stop by for the Big 12 breakdown in the 5 o'clock hour today. So after our 580 Sports Talk headlines, we will get to Paul Myerberg and get to hear about his thoughts on the upcoming final week of the regular season for the Big 12. I am also getting ready to ask Paul about something he informed us of last year. His in-laws can't cook ham. They have a Thanksgiving ham every year, and his in-laws can't cook it well, which I find hilarious that every year it's just so bad, but he eats it anyway. I mean, that's a good husband, if we're being honest with you. So I'm going to ask Paul about that when he joins us in the 5 o'clock hour today, his in-laws' terrible ham and how you can possibly screw up ham to that degree. That's coming up in the 5 o'clock hour when Paul joins us. What Is Wrong With You? Monthly championship, as I mentioned, 580 Sports Talk headlines. We will also hear from Zach Watkins, the new head football coach for the Washburn Ichabods. Coach Watkins was officially introduced earlier today with a press conference and a media scrum. Yours truly was in the mix there, along with some of the other notable media figures here. Not that I'm notable, but the other figures in media here in town who are, in fact, notable. So we'll hear a little bit of what Coach Watkins had to say as he takes over the helm of the program for his alma mater. Really, really cool to see Coach Watkins today. Really excited for the future of Ichabod football. We will likely hear from Coach coming up near the end of this hour after Matt Derrick. We'll play what we can for you from that earlier today. So we've got a jam-packed show coming up for you here on 580 Sports Talk. And I want to hear from you as we take you into Thanksgiving this week. I want to hear your thoughts on, well, damn near anything we're talking about on the show today, or even if we're not talking about it on the show. Hit me up on the text line or in the YouTube feed. I want to know what is on your mind today. Our text line number, you know it by now, 785-272-9429. You can also, of course, find us on YouTube. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. That's the easiest way to find us. Anytime you want to go find the show, the channel, whatever, just search 580 Sports Talk. Boom, you're right there. We're the first result. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. 23 away from 700. It'd be sick if we could get 23 more today, and I could tell those nerds that, you were gone, and I was able to get us to 700. Not sure we can get it done, but if you want to go subscribe to the YouTube channel, we would really appreciate it. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. All right, let's get to Chiefs versus Raiders coming up this week. Some keys to the game, a little bit informal. We're a couple days out from the game. Obviously, Dan's not here. Spencer will join us a little bit later, but he's not in the room right now. So a little more informal with our keys to the game for this one. And we'll get to some other NFL games here in just a moment, too. Number one for me, and again, like I talked about yesterday, I just have a hunch in this game. It's nothing that is explicitly analytically based. There's no one specific stat that I look at and go, yup, that is the exact reason why the Chiefs are going to beat the Raiders this weekend. But I just cannot shake the feeling that this is finally the week where the Chiefs figure it out. And I understand that you might hear that and say, Brendan, for the love of all that is holy, we have been hearing that from national pundits, from local pundits, from you guys on this program, to newspaper writers, to bloggers, to Jim down the street. Everyone thinks, well, this is the week. Well, this is the week. Well, this is going to be the week. Honestly, though, I don't think I have felt it as strongly as I feel like it's going to happen right now. Even last week against Carolina, when we went into that one, and I said last week on the show, going into the Panther game, I would hate to be Carolina going into this one. Chiefs, mad after losing to the Bills, looking to unleash a can on the Panthers. No. Would not want to be Carolina. There was the slight, tiny little speck in the back of my brain, somewhere in my hypothalamus. I don't really know if that's what it does. I'm not a big anatomy guy. Nonetheless, there's something in my brain that was telling me the NFL is weird and sometimes crazy things happen. The Raiders beat the Ravens this year. The Raiders, who, as we'll get to more in this segment, stink. They're terrible, okay? Horrible quarterback situation, horribly coached. Their best player left mid-season because he wanted to go play with his friends, Devontae Adams, best player other than Max Crosby anyway. Terrible team. They beat the Ravens this year, inexplicably, all the way back in the early part of the season. So crazy things happen. So there's this tiny little, 1/100th of 1% chance that something wacky happens in the back of my brain. I don't see that happening in this one. I know the Raiders, they weren't very good last year, but they were getting that new interim coach bump last season with Antonio Pierce. They beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead on Christmas Day. I remember it. I watched the whole damn game. It was unpleasant, but I remember the whole thing. Watching it with my parents back home in Chicago, in fact. But this Raiders team is a different level of bad. We don't even know how well Aiden O'Connell can grip the football right now, because he's been on IR with a broken thumb since week 7. And might I remind you, Aiden O'Connell is the starting quarterback this week for Las Vegas. It is a team that does not have smart coaching. They do not have a good quarterback situation. They have a terrible run game. They are lacking in terms of offensive weapons outside of Brock Bowers, who's legit. That if anything is going to happen for the Raiders in this game that makes it challenging for the Chiefs, it is going to be just spamming the ball to Brock Bowers over and over and over and over. He is going to be read 1, 2, 3, and 4 on some of these patterns coming up on Friday for Aiden O'Connell. Get the ball to Brock Bowers. Outside of that, they don't have anything. There's no clear-cut, obvious, well, this is what you could get gashed by. This is the thing that is going to end up worrying you. Again, at least Carolina, which I still think has the worst roster in football, maybe the only team with a worse roster overall than Las Vegas, at least they've had a couple of players who you go, yeah, like there's something there. Chuba Hubbard's a good player. Chuba Hubbard just got an extension from Carolina a couple of weeks ago. He's in a very good year. Xavier Legette, at least, he was a first-round pick. There's some intrigue there. I'm excited that he could become something. Jalen Coker didn't play last week, but he's an undrafted free agent who has really taken that Panthers roster by storm. At least there was something. You getting up for Jacoby Myers in 2024? I'm not, and I think Jacoby Myers is a fine player. I think Jacoby Myers is really good as a complementary piece. As wide receiver 1, wide receiver 1 and catching passes from Aiden O'Connell, not feeling great. Not feeling great at all about that if I'm the Raiders. So you just put the teams on paper, and I know the game's not played on paper, but guys, this is such a severe mismatch. Take the coaching in this game. Andy Reid versus Antonio Pierce. I'm not even going to waste your time breaking that down. It would be an insult to your intelligence to try to break that down and try to go through the specifics of Andy Reid's coaching ability versus Antonio Pierce. It's insulting to Andy Reid. Frankly, insulting to Antonio Pierce. I don't want to put the guy down. He's not good at his job, but I don't want to go any further than that. And then you have to factor in that the Chiefs are pissed off. They acted like they lost last week, even though they ended up beating Carolina with a walk-off field goal at the end of regulation from Spencer Schrader, who might not even play this week because he's got an injured hamstring. So all these factors together lead me to believe that the Chiefs are going to pound the Raiders in this week's game. A couple of things I do want to get to that I think are going to be crucial. Number one, Vegas is going to be one-dimensional against the Chiefs. I know Kansas City did not have a great game stopping the run against Carolina. Again, the interior of Carolina's line, they way overpaid for it. Dion Lewis, and then you go out and spend over $100 million on Robert Hunt. Way overpaid for their interior offensive line. But they needed some kind of help, and they got it, and they are better as a running team now. And Chuba Hubbard has taken off and is a legit NFL starting running back at this point. Okay, something there. The Raiders, however, don't have that. The Raiders' run game is abysmal. They actually had the season worst against the Chiefs when these teams played back in week 8. 1.6 yards per carry. Yards per expected, that's a stat. You can find it at Next Gen Stats. Some other websites and outlets have numbers that are very similar. It's essentially given what type of run, what type of blocking, down and distance situation, when first contact is made. They track all of that different data, and they're able to pump out this number, run yards over expected. The Raiders in that game had negative 47 yards over expected. They were just getting blasted. They did not have a single explosive run in that game. The Raiders didn't. The Chiefs held the Raiders without a single run of 10 or more yards. This feels like a huge bounce back opportunity for Kansas City. This feels like after the team got embarrassed a little bit last week in terms of the run defense, now you get a chance to tee off. Because again, you go into Carolina, you knew Chuba Hubbard was their best offensive playmaker. Now you couldn't stop him. Well, they stopped him. They slowed him down, but it still wasn't a great game overall by the run defense. We got into that earlier on in the week and during the instant reaction show last week after the Carolina game. But even so, you go into this game knowing that A, you've already shut them down once, and B, they haven't gotten any better. Vegas hasn't done anything differently in the last few weeks that makes you say, oh yeah, they've added this wrinkle to the run game. They're doing more, more zone stuff, more duo, more split zone, whatever. They're not doing any more of that. They still suck at it as much as they've sucked at it all year. So that feels like another bounce back opportunity for the Chiefs. Slam the run down. Just shut the run down. And I don't think the Chiefs are going to have a whole lot of problem with that. Again, motivation and feeling like you have failed is a strong motivator. It is my number one motivator. I'm not going to make you play therapist here, but I'm telling you, that is a strong motivator for a lot of people, including, I think, this Kansas City Chiefs defense. You know that Andy Reid, you know that Steve Spagnuolo have been getting after these dudes over the last few days since this Carolina game. That's an opportunity for them to bounce back. The other key for this one, and again, we're a little informal with the keys today, I want to see more of Patrick Mahomes pushing the ball down the field. He has been really good as of late. He had one of his best games of the season this past weekend against Carolina. The problem wasn't Mahomes in the game against Carolina. Mahomes, I thought, was really dang good. Again, as we went over on Monday, as we recapped the show, looking at the advanced box score right now, 14.5 total EPA. That's a really good number. Really, really, really good number for Patrick Mahomes. Expected QBR was about 63. That's really good. The Chiefs' offense was humming. I want to see the Chiefs continue to pump the ball down the field, though. I want to see Patrick Mahomes continue to take chances. The Raiders do not have a secondary that worries you all that much in terms of cashing in on mistakes. You throw an interception in this game, sucks, but you move on with it. I'd rather the Chiefs take more chances to push the ball vertically and take some of those bigger risks, bigger gambles, because I think more often than not, they are going to pay off. So what if you throw an interception in this game? I'm not worried about the Raiders offense scoring all that much. I want to see Mahomes to Hopkins 10, 15, 20 yards down the field, get him alone, isolated receiver, and make him get downfield one-on-one, even with split safety help. Put the ball in the hole, man. The turkey hole shot. That's the old John Gruden. It's not just him who says it, but you try to get that in-breaking route in between the cornerback and the safety. Boom. We know Mahomes is one of the strongest arms in the league. Him and Josh Allen. Put that ball right through that hole. Get it to DeAndre Hopkins. Lob it up. Let him go play, jump ball. 500. You ever played 500 on the playground as a kid? Make him go play that with a cornerback or a safety. Get the ball downfield to Noah Gray, who right now is your more explosive of the tight ends. Just take some shots down the field. Mahomes has been incredible against the Raiders so far this year. Back in week 8, again, I'm going to use that EPA number, plus 11.7. That's a massive number. You're up over 10. That's really, really good. Bryce Young was plus 10 last week in EPA. Mahomes was plus 11.7 against the Raiders back in week 8. He has, against the Raiders, better performances on average week to week and then cumulatively over the course of his career since 2018. He has been better against the Raiders than any other individual quarterback has been against any other team. I'm not kidding. I've got the number from Next Gen Stats right in front of me right now. And I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of numbers and statistics. Just know, high EPA number, really good. Mahomes is against the Raiders, bigger than any other quarterback against any other team. I think this is a major mismatch. I know the spread is gigantic. It's Chiefs minus 13. I am not a Chiefs homer because I'm not, born into being a Chiefs fan. I like the Chiefs because I have lived here for a long time. So I don't think this is a homer pick to say it. Normally, you would never, ever, ever take a spread that big in the NFL because all the teams are so close in talent margin. I think this is a blowout waiting to happen. I'm going to take the Chiefs to cover the 13-point spread. Give me Chiefs 31, Raiders 10 in this game. I think the Chiefs just pound them into dust. And I'm going to say my big chief, I'm going to call my shot. I think it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins. I think this is going to be a down-the-field attacking kind of game for Kansas City. I think Hopkins gets back into the rotation quite a bit. I think Mahomes is another huge game. And I think the Chiefs get a little revenge for last year's holiday game when they lost on Christmas to the Raiders. I think they just pound them into the dirt. Chiefs 31, Raiders 10. That's my official pick. I want your picks for Chiefs versus Raiders Black Friday game 2 days away. Let me know. Hit me up either on the text line, 785-272-9429, or drop your score prediction in the YouTube comments. We are 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel while you're there. Watch along, hang out with the rest of the commentariat. Let us know your prediction for Chiefs versus Raiders this week. Give me a score prediction. Give me a big Chief. Send those in. We will get to our first break of the day. When we come back, KU with a big-time win over the Duke Blue Devils last night. What did it take for KU to beat the Dukies? We'll break it down next on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started on 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday afternoon. Final day before Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for spending some of your afternoon hours with us. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Spencer Dupuis will be by a little bit later on in the show for our Prairie Band Sportsbook football picks contest. He'll also be with us for our November monthly championship in What Is Wrong With You. Dan is off today. He'll be back with us coming up on Monday. We're off tomorrow for Thanksgiving. We're also off for Black Friday as well. So enjoy the holiday. We will reconvene with you coming up on Monday at 3 o'clock. Last night, late game, took forever because those primetime ESPN games always do. KU beat Duke. God, it feels so good to beat Duke. Now, this isn't the same Duke team. Coach K was there. I don't know if you guys saw this during the TV broadcast, but they were bringing the stats people, the sports information folks at the Terry's Chocolate Vegas Invitational were bringing Coach K a stat sheet, a box score during all the timeouts like you would give to a coaching staff. He's just a fan now. He's not coaching. What, is he going to get up off the seats in the front row and go coach? He would, off the bench, cold, do a better job of coaching than John Shire. I'll tell you that much. That's what I wanted to get to, is it's always fun to beat Duke, but it's never quite the same when Coach K's not there, because John Shire, yikes. He's a great recruiter, seems like a great guy, was a really good player in his day at Duke, just like me from the Chicago suburbs. But, dude, he is bad at the X's and O's. Late game execution, Bill Self versus John Shire. We should have known how that game was going to end when we knew it was going to be a one-score game. Because Bill Self is maybe the greatest to ever do it in those situations. John Shire, yikes, not at all good in those situations. There were a few individual performances that really stood out, are worth bringing up and mentioning in this one. Number one, Dajuan Harris. Dajuan Harris was the best player on the floor for a large portion of the game. I think most KU fans have come around to understanding just how good Dajuan Harris is, even though he's not flashy. I know that people around the Big 12 feel that way because other teams that don't have a good point guard or a great point guard or coaches who don't have one all say, God, I wish we had that guy. You know, the guy who just a couple years ago was the defensive player of the year in the Big 12, multi-time all-conference honorable mention, has started for a million games for this KU team, who Bill Self probably has more trust in than maybe any other player he's ever coached at KU. Yeah, that guy, that Dajuan Harris. He has been utterly phenomenal in these last couple of games. He had the game slowed down. He was dictating the tempo. The passes were crisp. I thought he scored the ball well. He did a good job for the most part of getting downhill. I was so impressed by what Dajuan Harris gave KU last night. He gets a shout out. So does KJ Adams. Our guy, Trenton Kraxner, former 580 Sports Talk intern, sideline reporter for Washburn football. He and I talked a lot in the lead up to this season on, those road trips or getting ready for Washburn games. Trenton also a KU fan, obviously, about KJ Adams. Trenton's a big KJ guy and said he doesn't get why people rag on him, think he should be out of the starting lineup. And, I have shared not even gripes, but my critiques, I think, of KJ. I love KJ Adams. I say that every single time we talk about him. I love KJ Adams. I think he's got a limited skill set, but I think he's a good player. I would just rather see him for like 25 minutes a game versus 35 minutes a game. I don't think that's a ludicrous take. And then there was a game like yesterday where he only scored 8 points. He also had 3 steals, 3 blocks, and for a large portion of the game, shut down Cooper Flagg, the best player in the country. I know he's only 17. That's the best player in the country. Him and Jonai Broome at Auburn, I think, are going to be your top 2 candidates for National Player of the Year when it's all said and done this season. Those dudes are both freaks. Jonai Broome is like 35. Cooper Flagg is only 17. But still, those are the 2 best players in the country, in my opinion. And KJ Adams played an absolutely fantastic defensive game against him. Part of it's coaching. Part of it is the fact that Flagg is so inexperienced, so young. But that is why you play KJ a lot. Even though he's not going to shoot threes, he made a couple of jumpers. Then he took 2 that were just absolutely so awful. It was like when David McCormick used to take free throw line jumpers, and it just made you want to rip your hair out. But he made so many winning plays. Hard to be anything but just glowing about the performance from KJ. I understand why people have critiques about him. I don't think he's a perfect player by any means, but he rose to the occasion. He makes winning plays. And I know that sounds like nonsense coach speak, but it's true. And his defense was absolutely critical and vital to KU winning that game last night. I thought he was spectacular. And we got to give credit to Flory Badunga, man, because Hunter Dickinson got ejected from the game. I'll get to that in a second because I know y'all have a lot of thoughts about it. Flory Badunga came in, and there were moments where I was terrified, where he would put the ball on the floor, and I immediately cringed. And I thought, oh, my God, Flory, just get rid of the ball. Dunk it or pass it. Dunk it or pass it. Young David McCormick was the same way. Dunk or pass, Dave. And Flory is like 3 times the athlete McCormick was. I love Big Dave. Flory is a way, way, way different athlete. I'm not trying to compare the two skill set wise or traits wise, but just that you don't really trust them with the ball in their hand unless they're going up and catching a lob for a dunk. But man, he came up with some big rebounds, big defensive minutes, had a handful of dunks, went for 6 points and a game-high 8 boards off the bench. He was awesome. And he was pressed into a really, really difficult spot when Dickinson got ejected and tossed out of the game. I give all the credit in the world to Flory. By all accounts, he is a great kid. He's got a great mindset. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. And he grew up right before our eyes last night. So I've got to give a big round of applause to Flory Badunga. As for Hunter Dickinson, real quick before we have to get to a timeout here, Matt Derrick's going to join us coming up next. I thought he should have gotten a flagrant 1. I'm not surprised they threw him out the more I've thought about it because A, it's reputation, and B, you see someone's foot hit another guy in the dome. Yeah, I mean, when it's not clearly accidental, I don't know if it was intent. Maybe it was. I'm not going to put words in the guy's mouth. It was a very dumb thing for Hunter Dickinson to do. I like Hunter. I am 100% a Hunter Dickinson defender. I am not afraid to say that. But that being said, you got to be smarter in that spot. I was bummed. I'm still bummed. And I was surprised at the time he got tossed. With retrospect, you got to think of the reputation. I get it. Sucked in the moment. Really, really dumb decision by a 24-year-old player. But I know he will be better. I am a Hunter Dickinson defender all the way through. But the fact that Flory stepped up in his place and proved that he can be relied on a big spot, that is a legitimate ceiling-raising moment for KU basketball, which is pretty scary for the rest of the country, considering KU is already ranked number 1. Really fun win last night, but it's always a fun win when you beat the Duke Blue Devils. It's also always fun when Matt Derrick joins us, our Chiefs insider from ChiefsDigest.com. He's coming up next on 580 Sports Talk.
In one study, 95% of patients using hair growth found these
Let's go to Kansas City, where we are joined by our good pal, our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Brendan, and now Spencer joining you. Spencer in studio. Spence, good to see you. Matt, of course, you can find his work over at ChiefsDigest.com. You can also find him at Matt Derrick on Twitter and also on Blue Sky if you're over on Blue Sky these days. Matt, first and most important question before we get to Black Friday, we've got to talk Thanksgiving spread. You know we got to do it every single year. What does the menu look like at Derrick Manor coming up tomorrow?
I don't know for sure. Going over to the in-laws, I know I'm responsible for making some sweet potatoes. I know there's going to be a spice cake. I know Nancy got for me and any others that want them. She bought some mini bundt cakes, so pretty excited about that. I don't have to make any desserts this year, so I've got except for the sweet potatoes, I got like a day off. And then I know that the in-laws are like getting a bunch of stuff catered and everything because nobody wants to cook apparently. So I'm going to show up and just be surprised. I know a couple of the dishes. I'm not doing anything too extravagant. I guess I might go a little more extravagant for desserts at Christmas. We'll see.
I see. Now, I was prepared to ask about the desserts because I know you're normally the dessert guy for your family meals, Matt. What happened this year? Did you get to pass that off?
Yeah, I guess they just decided to give me the week off. And I mean, I normally want to make something for myself because I'm a chocolate peanut butter guy. So, I'm gonna come up with some sort of recipe that it at least indulges my sweet tooth and everything. But hey, this time everybody wanted to be like, okay, we'll just take it easy and get some catering done and everything, so everybody doesn't have to work too hard. I'll take it. I mean, Chiefs don't have anything going on tomorrow. If that means I just get to sit around and watch football and just make one dish, I'll take it, Brendan. I'm not going to complain.
No, that sounds pretty nice. Although, on the downside, some of that football includes Cowboys versus Giants. So maybe that might actually feel like work.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that we might have to, strain ourselves through and everything like that. So might fall asleep during that one, I'm not going to lie.
Well, coming up on Friday, the Chiefs are playing against the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders Week is always a blast. And I know, Matt, that so many people, national, local, radio, print, TV, whatever, have been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, this is the week the Chiefs are going to have a blowout win. This is the week the Chiefs are going to blow a team out. And it never quite happens. But I am all in on this being the week. That Chiefs team sounded really upset even after a win against Carolina last week. I think they're fired up. It always means more when you beat the Raiders. Talk me off the ledge here, so to speak. What is going for the Raiders that would keep this from being a Chiefs blowout? Or is it simply that's just not what the Chiefs do, so you can't predict that it's finally going to happen?
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, it's going to happen at some point. And, I mean, this could be it. I mean, the only reason I would think that it's not going to be it is that the Raiders are ready for it. I mean, they're expecting to get blown out. So I think that's what they're aiming to just avoid. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. It doesn't sound like anything I'm hearing out of Vegas this week. I mean, I know Antonio Pierce has some sort of crazy ideas about winning this game, but I can't see it happening. And it does seem prime for a Chiefs blowout because this team does seem to be more focused and just a little testy this week. They're not real happy, especially defensively, not real happy with the way that they played the last couple of weeks. Certainly looks like they're going to get Charles Omenihu back. Offensively, they're going to get, Isaiah Pacheco back. And Pacheco has a tendency to inject a little fire into this team. So there's a lot of reasons why that this might be the most focused and energized Chiefs team in a while on Friday. And if that's the case, and the Raiders just, don't show up with the right attitude, yeah, I mean, Chiefs could blow them out. I'm not going to talk you down off that ledge. But, I mean, once again, it just comes back to until the Chiefs do it, until they show up in all three phases of the game and take somebody to the woodshed, I'm just going to assume they're not going to do it because they get everybody's best shot. I don't know what the Raiders' best shot this year consists of. I don't think they can sneak up on this team like they did last year on Christmas Day, because the Chiefs are guarding against the letdown this week. Last week was the letdown. There's not going to be a letdown this week.
And last year you had the bump from Antonio Pierce being the new rah-rah interim coach. Now we just know he stinks at his job. Like, there's no bounce when you're this late in the year with a coach who clearly doesn't really know what he's doing. It's all clearly way over his head. Now, that being said, for the Chiefs' defense, which struggled last week, I don't think there's any way around that. The pass rush has struggled for quite a while at this point. They are going to have to find a way to slow down Brock Bowers. He is very clearly really good. That was a great draft pick. I imagine Aiden O'Connell is going to target him upwards of probably 20 times in this game on Friday. Is there anyone else on that offense who deserves extra attention, who the Chiefs will have to actively try to shut down with their game plan?
I mean, there's nobody that scares me. I mean, absolutely none. I mean, the only guy that worries me at all whatsoever is Brock Bowers. And I mean, yeah, if I'm the Chiefs, I give all the attention to that guy. And remember, he did light the Chiefs up in the first half in the first meeting, and it certainly looked like, okay, this might be the Brock Bowers show, and the Chiefs are in trouble. And then they really just took him out in the second half. I mean, they absolutely, shut him down. So we know this Chiefs defense can do it. Just, it's going to be, hey, can they take him out from the get-go in this one? Not a lot of teams have. I mean, he is a unique talent. And you're right. I mean, this is the only weapon that the Raiders have. And Aiden O'Connell knows that. So he is going to be trying to take advantage of Brock Bowers as much as he possibly can. I just think there's a limit to what Brock Bowers can do. And he could have a good game, and the Raiders still could only put up 10 points.
We're joined by Matt Derrick on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. And, Matt, a lot of things happened this week. Obviously, it's a short week for the Chiefs, but one of them is placing Peyton Hendershot, tight end, on the injured reserve list. We know the Chiefs like to go multiple tight end sets, sometimes up to 3. They only have 2 active tight ends on the roster right now. What's the plan for the third tight end?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm getting the sense that they might go to Anthony Firkser, who is on the practice squad, as maybe one of the practice squad elevations this week. We know they're going to use one of those on Matt Wright, especially if they go ahead and activate Pacheco and Omenihu. That's going to take them up to 53 on the active roster. So they would have to use a practice squad elevation to get their kicker that they need. And, and there could be a little trick. I mean, they need some special teams help, and Firkser could obviously, be that. But Cam Jones has been out sick this week. So they could be down to just 4 linebackers on Sunday. And if that's the case, maybe they need to bring up a linebacker from the practice squad for special teams. But if not, I mean, I think there's a reasonable chance Anthony Firkser will be the guy. And I asked Andy Reid about that today, and he didn't say yes, but he didn't say no about elevating Anthony Firkser. And it certainly seems like that's a possibility. There's another chance that maybe it's a guy like Carson Steele that they work in as kind of an H-back, as maybe a number 3 tight end. But Firkser makes the most sense. They've got Baylor Cupp on the practice squad as well, but he's been injured and was just activated this week. He's been out since September. So I think that's a lot to expect from an undrafted rookie to go in there and give you many snaps. So Firkser would probably be the guy. He's been with the Chiefs before. I mean, it was 7 years ago, so there's not a lot he can pull from then. I mean, I know when I talked to him earlier this week, he said there's a few things he remembers, but the things are a lot different too. So, but he's a veteran that can certainly give them a few snaps if they need it. But yeah, I mean, with the Chiefs, as many as 2 and 3 tight end sets as they've used this year, being down to just 2 tight ends would absolutely limit them offensively with some things they might want to do.
A position that they're going to have a plethora at is running back, because you reported the other day on Twitter that they had 51. Their roster was at 51 players. You activate Pacheco, you activate Omenihu. That moves it up to 53. They're about to have 5 running backs on the roster. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire hasn't been activated, but how do you keep 5 running backs on a roster and only 2 tight ends?
it's hard. I mean, unless you've got a running back that can do both. And, the Chiefs have had a fullback in the past. I mean, Anthony Sherman was a guy that they were comfortable, putting in that spot. Mike Burton was a guy that they were comfortable giving tight end snaps to. But, are they comfortable doing that with Carson Steele? I mean, he's not truly a fullback. He's just a running back who takes some fullback snaps. But as a rookie, are they comfortable giving him another part of the playbook and say, hey, go out and learn some third tight end reps? But then again, you get back to who's going to fill that role. They've had so many injuries. I mean, they've got 3 tight ends now that are on the injured reserve. So they've really burned through the guys that they have. Is there a free agent out there that, the Chiefs are familiar with? I don't know if there's a savior out there that can come in and be that number 3 guy, unless it's somebody like Ferkser or Baylor Cup that they can pull from the practice squad. But the math doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I would never think that the Chiefs would be in a spot where they'd be carrying 5 running backs and 2 tight ends. And I mean, and it'd be great if one of those running backs, like I said, if one of those running backs could be a flexible guy, but who is that guy? I mean, I think Spencer Ware.
Chiefs
I think
legend.
Carson Steele, good grief. Chiefs legend. I mean, yeah, maybe Spencer Ware can come out of retirement and give him some tight end snaps. But Carson Steele is the only guy that I think really fits that role, and I'm just not, sure how much of that role he could take on.
You got a chance to see DJ Humphries on the field today, obviously, and talk to him in the media availability. Obviously not going to play this week. What's your first impressions of potentially the new starting left tackle as they head into the postseason?
Absolute ball of fire. If you did not hear the press conference with DJ Humphries, just the selfish plug here, go to the Chiefs Digest YouTube channel and you can watch it in its entirety. He is an absolutely amazing personality. We'll see if he can play. We'll see if he's healthy enough to be the guy that he wants to be. But there's no doubt you see this guy at his press conference and you see exactly why the Chiefs went out and got him. He's got a great personality. You can see how he's going to be a popular guy in that locker room, probably the life of the party in the offensive line area. But even when I asked him about, being a leader or a role model, for Wanye and Kingsley, he said, hey, he hasn't been here long enough to really, feel that obligation. But at the same time, he said, hey, there were guys that taught me how to play in the NFL. There were guys that shared with me the knowledge that I needed to succeed. And he's like, I feel like I'm supposed to do that too, that I need to pay it back and I need to help guys. So, having a veteran like that around Wanye and Kingsley, I can't think can only help those 2 guys. So, hey, if in a couple of weeks he gets up to speed and he is ready to play and can man the left tackle position and can do it better than Wanye, the Chiefs are going to go to him. And I don't think there'd be a lot of complaints in that locker room. I mean, already seems to be making friends. He knows a few guys in the locker room already, and he clearly wanted to be in Kansas City. So it seems like a great fit. We'll see what happens. I mean, the Chiefs would love to have a situation where Wanye really rises his play and he holds that position, and then you've got a backup that you can rely on if needed if there's an injury down the road. But I know a lot of Chiefs fans would love to see what DJ Humphries can do as a starter, and they might get that chance here in a couple of weeks.
Matt Derrick covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. He joins us usually on Fridays, but this week on Wednesday for our Chiefs Insider. Go follow Matt as well over on Twitter and on Blue Sky. Matt, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for taking some time for us on a different day than normal. Enjoy the holiday. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great, my friends. Take care and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
That is the great Matt Derrick joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. We have to get to one more break. We'll hear from new Washburn head football coach Zach Watkins after this on 580 WIBW. thanks to Matt and Derrick, our Chiefs insider, for joining us a couple days earlier than normal for today's Chiefs Insider. I'm Brendan Dworzinski with you. Spencer will be back in a few minutes. Right now, we're going to hear from the newest head coach of Washburn Ichabod's football. That is right. Zach Watkins was officially introduced earlier today. Let's get to some of the nuts and bolts from what he had to say when he met with the media. He had a full statement in which he thanked the university, President Mazachek, Athletic Director Lauren Prairie, as well as his family and all the folks who were there for the opportunity. Obviously, Zach has been a great piece of the coaching staff at Washburn for years, one of the best Ichabods of all time on the playing field as well. So let's listen in to some of what Zach Watkins had to say today as he was introduced as the new head football coach of the Washburn Ichabods.
Just tell us about the excitement that you have today.
It's an incredible feeling. I've been prepared for this opportunity for a long time, but to have the ability to lead these guys and lead this program, especially my alma mater, a place that's really special to me, is extremely exciting.
Now Charlotte has a legacy here. What do you hope to bring to the Washburn legacy?
Yeah, I'd really like to build on what Coach Derrick has done. He's a huge mentor of mine and did a tremendous job here as a head coach for a long time, and he's taught me a lot, and I'm excited to kind of put my spin on things, and it's still some things that I want to do, but really build upon the foundation he's built for a long time.
At all levels of football, when there's a coaching change, once in a while you see some players start to maybe other places to go. But with you being part of the program, is that going to help? You think people know you, the players know you, they trust you? Is that going to help with that?
I hope so. When we got the news about being the interim head coach, there's going to be a change made. My first thought was the players, trying to make sure we could steady the boat for them and calm them down and give them information they needed. And with the transfer portal and the way recruiting is now, you have to make sure and get on top of that quickly. And we did that, and some kids did get in the portal, and we'll have more conversations with other kids. But I think being able to make an internal hire and one that the kids can really believe in, I think will really make this thing go.
Now, you said win now. What does that mean? What kind of bones do you guys have now?
A really young team coming back. We lost a lot of close games. Combination of things, but the youth and inexperience were obviously a part of that, and I think we can just really build on the season that we had. Even though the win losses weren't there, we're able to really build on the ability of those kids playing, some for the first time in the MIAA, some for the second year as true sophomores, but we've got a really good base of young kids, and we'll add some kids to that, and should be really good.
Zach, without discrediting Coach Derrick or anything, but what are some things that you hope to change as the new leader face of this program? Is there some sort of different spin that you're excited to put on the program?
Yeah, no matter who takes over, there's always going to be changes. Whether it's an internal hire, an external hire, there's always going to be changes. And I've had a very detailed plan for a long time. I got the opportunity to be a head coach, and those are some things that I want to make sure I enact, especially quickly. There's certain areas that I think I'm strong in that I can really dive into and make sure the team feeds off of that. But there's really no specific thing that anybody has not done well. I just want to try to improve all the things that we do in our program.
What are some of those things you do well?
I think some of the things we do well, we recruit really well. We've got a tremendous support amongst people in the university. Obviously, our facilities lead to the type of kids we can get. We're just developing these kids as much as they need to and they deserve, and really just instilling discipline in a program that really will get you those close game wins.
Has it been a dream of yours to be the head coach of Washburn? Has this been like a lifelong goal since it suited up, kind of?
Yeah, I've wanted to be head coach for a long time. I've turned down some opportunities to stay here, and never thought that it would happen the way it's happened the past couple of weeks. But that was a job that I coveted, and a job that I knew was special to me, and one that I always thought I could do well.
Is there anything schematic that you want to change, offense, defense, special teams wise?
Yeah, you always have to evaluate that, whether there's a coaching change or not. We evaluate schemes every year, even when no staff has changed. We have to do what's best for our players. Our players will dictate what kind of schemes we can run, what kind of offense and defense we can run, and really the things that they're strong at will be what we decide to do.
Zach, what does the timeline look like in terms of talking to the coaches, still on staff, making potential outside hires, outside interviews? What does that timeline look like in these next couple of weeks?
Yeah, the timeline happens quick. There's no exact blueprint for this, especially with the way recruiting has changed, with the Thanksgiving break being right now. And like we told the staff and we told the players, no matter who is in this head coaching position, there's going to be changes. And those changes all have to be made for the betterment of the program. And there may be some tough conversations or guys that you have always wanted to work with or always admired from afar. And those are all things that have to be done soon and done quickly so we can get on to recruiting and start to build our roster for the next season.
Speaking of recruiting and of your vision for this.
So we'll actually jump out of that here because we've got to get to a break at the top of the hour. But that is some of the nuts and bolts of what Zach Watkins, the new head coach of Washburn football, had to say today. Again, I am super excited for Coach Watkins to take over and super excited for this next direction of Washburn football. So appreciate the chance to get to talk to Coach earlier today. We'll lead off next hour with our 580 Sports Talk picks here on 580 WIBW.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I like a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
WIBW, Topeka.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. Are you on the move yet? CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports millions of Americans are heading to holiday destinations.
By road, rail, or sky, Americans are heading to their Thanksgiving feast.
Not bad at all. I'm excited to see my family.
Airlines expect their busiest travel day before the holiday today with 2.9 million flyers. The FAA even opened up some express lanes typically reserved for the military along the east and Gulf coasts.
AAA is expecting record-setting travel volume this year for Thanksgiving.
now, 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk coming your way on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Spencer Dupuis will be by again in just a little bit. He's in and out today. Spencer's got a lot on his plate this week. Ag expert Spencer Dupuis, he's got some stuff to take care of for the Thanksgiving holidays. He'll join us again coming up a little bit later on this hour. Dan is off today. He is on vacation with his family, visiting some other family for Thanksgiving. So he'll be back with us coming up next week. I'm here with you throughout the show today. We're on with you until 6 o'clock this evening. I haven't even looked at the schedule. I've been absolutely swamped by stuff. I think our buddy Dave is just going to swing by. I think Dave Ramsey is on tonight, or he's probably taking vacation. The Dave Ramsey folks are on tonight. I'm not sure which ones it'll be, but some of the Dave Ramsey folks will be on. Spencer's back with us. He's back in studio. He's got his microphone on. He's getting the cans on. We'll be good to go.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Everything right now.
You are. No, ag expert Spencer Dupuis. Yeah, we'll get him on the camera and everything. Yeah, so we're all good. The two of us are here with you. We've got our Prairie Band Sportsbook football picks competition coming up in just a moment with some breaking news from the competition as well. We're going to get to that. Some great news for one of us in particular. I'm in first place now.
Yeah.
Dan has melted down. He had a big lead. And then a bad week last week while I went 4-1.
Yeah, I mean,
you're right there too, though.
Look, I should have had a better record last weekend. I should have. I think I had 2. I think I was 2 and something, 2 and 5.
You would have been. I think you went 2 and 3.
Yeah, my Marshall hit, and then barely Jaden Daniels hit because of that
goofy end of that game
to Terry McLaurin for 86 yards.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You'll take that one. So we'll get to our picks coming up in just a minute. We'll also go around the NFL. We'll get a quick pick, not for the contest, but just picks for all the games coming up on Thanksgiving tomorrow as well. Obviously, a full NFL slate, full college football slate as well. Some really good games coming up this weekend. We'll get to more of that in the 5 o'clock hour too. Also this hour, it is one of the most important days of the month, one of the most important days of the year, frankly. We will find our champion for the month of November in What Is Wrong With You. Our 2 finalists, the bogus Boston Botox and banned from Ulta Beauty for life. We have Dan Lucero's vote in the can as well. If we need it as a tiebreaker, we will have it. I have already determined, a lot of times I will go into the championship round, into the segment itself, not knowing who I'm going to pick. I know my winner today. I am going in clear eyes, full heart, can't lose. I know who I'm going to end up picking. We'll find out who my pick is, who your pick is, Spencer, coming up here in just a little bit. Also, Tim Fitzgerald is going to swing on by on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for this week's edition of the Wildcat Wrap-up. We'll talk some K-State hoops. The women got a win earlier today. We followed up the K-State women, in fact, this afternoon. Good win for the Midi Cats after falling to Duke in the opening round of the Ball Dogs Invitational. They bounced back and smoked DePaul today. So we'll talk all things K-State sports, of course, football as well. Kind of a big game coming up this weekend against Iowa State with Tim Fitzgerald later on this hour. We want to hear from you. The text line, 785-272-9429. That is the text line number. Again, 785-272-WIBW. Meanwhile, you can also find us on YouTube. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, and then you can go and not just subscribe to the channel, which we would love for you to do, but also come and hang out with us during the live feed on the show. Comment section is rolling all show long. You can hang out with us, leave a comment, make some jokes. Mark B, watching along on YouTube, noticed that there is a phone in the studio.
I have an answer for that.
So there's a red phone in the studio. It's behind one of the monitors that controls all the commercials and stuff. Has it rung while you've been in here?
No, it is disconnected.
Okay.
But I was told when I first got here from one Britt Zweigert, who is right behind you in the other glass room. He told me, because obviously he used to produce 580 Sports Talk at one point. There was some nuclear plant somewhere, and we were like the call before they went to a digital system.
Okay, so that really was like the big red phone.
Yes. Like if there's an emergency at this nuclear plant, we were to get the phone call and put that out as like an alert.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I've been told. That's like hearsay, though. I don't know 100%, but that's what I've been told.
I mean, yeah, there's a deep history of that in this part of the country. So
there used to be some envelope, and the envelope had something in it, and if they actually called, you had to like read the envelope. I don't know. Britt's a little busy today, so he's not listening to the show like he typically does. As we both look at him, and he does.
No, we'll get some clarification from him. But yes, so if you're watching on the YouTube, you might see something in the studio that I just ignore that I don't even know is there, and I might have to learn something new. I don't think that I was going to say that phone has never rung in the time I've been here.
Yeah, it's not connected.
Okay, well there you go.
I learned something new. I don't know why I'd never thought this at all, but you were giving the text line number out.
Yeah,
and I never realized that 9429 is WIBW.
Yeah. Yeah, nice and easy. It's easy to remember.
Yeah.
We always go with.
Now I wish there's been times where I've forgotten it. Like the first couple times I was hosting by myself when Dan was on paternity leave, you were on vacation.
Yep.
I completely just froze up. And if I would have known it's WIBW, I wouldn't have done that.
There you go. So you only really need to remember all the area codes are the same in the northern half of the state, aside from Overland Park. And then you just need to remember the three numbers in the middle, 272. Otherwise, just WIBW. We don't say that enough. We should get back to 272 WIBW.
Yeah.
Anywho, we want you to hang out with us either on YouTube or on the text line, 272 WIBW. Send us your Chiefs predictions. Asked for those earlier, gave our keys to the game. The majority are picking the Chiefs to win pretty big here. So we had a couple of picks on the YouTube feed that I will pull up first because that is what is right in front of me right now. Mark H, he's got the Chiefs 31-17. Jeffrey, our resident Raiders fan in the YouTube feed, he's got the Chiefs over the Raiders, but not covering the spread. He's going with the Chiefs 31-20. Mark B, he's going with the Chiefs as well, 34-13. He picks a 3-touchdown win. Vance on YouTube, 27-10. We've got a couple of texts in as well, 785-272-9429. This one from the 316, 31-28 Chiefs in another come from behind or blow a lead cardiac game. I think it's going to be a blowout, but I do not begrudge anyone who thinks this one will come right down to the wire again. I truly, honestly don't. But I've got to say, I love this one from the 785. Chiefs 38, Raiders 3. Hell yeah. Put the hammer down, as our guy Mitch Holtis would say. Love it.
That would change how I really think this season's going to go if they can finally do that.
What's your score prediction for Friday?
24-17.
Ooh, so you think it'll be a close one?
Yeah. I can't predict you can't do a non-close game. Every game has been so close.
I get it.
I
get it.
I don't have any faith that I've picked them to blow out and it's backfired, right? So
true. You
got to pick them to be close. Maybe they will blow them out.
Fair enough. All right. I can respect that logic. I can respect that. We're going to get to our, we've got another one here, by the way. Jason, who says Chiefs 28-20. So he's got it as a one-score game as well. Jason also asked for a Packers-Dolphins prediction. We will get to that in a moment. We're going to get to our picks first for the Prairie Band Sportsbook Picks Contest. We'll get to the other Thanksgiving games here coming up in just a few. I think Dan is the only one who picked any of the actual games on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
No, actually you did. You picked one, Spencer, as well. So you each picked one. I will, you know what? I'm going to have you go first today, Spencer. You are in last place, but only by a half a game behind Dan. And you're only a game and a half behind me.
Yeah, and I do have a chance potentially to get out of that half game distance because it's been a while since I've had two teams that I've picked that are at even numbers against the spread.
That's true. We have a couple even ones here. So you could have a couple pushes.
There's a chance it could happen this week. Okay, I'll start college football. This is my lock of the week. I got to see what I texted this morning to Dan when he put it up on the website. I got to go with the old reliable Marshall plus 3.5 at
good,
JMU. Man. I can't pick against. I can't not pick this because I've picked it the last few weeks and I've been right. So I think Marshall wins outright in this, by the way. That doesn't say that in here. I also have Kansas State plus 3 at Iowa State. Should I read this text message group text?
So yeah, Dan has been keeping detailed notes on all of our picks, how we're doing with locks, wild cards, NFL, college football. He went in the archives and found out that Spencer has been the kiss of death for Kansas State. 0-2 picking the Cats against the spread. Not great. Not a tremendous sign for Kansas State. Are you worried that you are, in fact, bad luck for the Cats?
No, I think third time's a charm.
Okay.
Like, they're going to get a win this time.
They got to get it.
Yeah,
if they have any chance of getting to Arlington, they need a win.
Yep. Moving to NFL, I've got Cleveland plus 5.5 at Denver. Cleveland played really well in the end of that snow game. Jameis Winston put the team on his back. I can't believe I just said that.
I know.
It's just positive vibes. Jameis Winston gives me positive vibes as a starting quarterback. I don't know if I like all his pregame interviews,
the wackiness,
but something is happening in Cleveland with him at starting quarterback, and it's actually positive right now.
Yeah.
Instead of the dirty, stinky, whatever man we were calling
the dirty,
him.
Stinky man. Oh, the nasty man, but I'm good with any nickname.
So I've got Cleveland plus 5.5 at Denver. I just think Cleveland pulls this one out. Then the game that I'm picking that is on Thanksgiving, Detroit favored by 10 at home against Chicago. I don't like Chicago. I just don't like their team this year. I think Caleb Williams has been overrated. I think Matt Eberflus is ready to get the can. I think he's ready to get pushed out.
Yeah, he's going to get fired, no doubt. I think Caleb has played really well recently. I think they're so badly coached. Now, last year, the Bears played the Lions close twice and even beat them once. But it's different because I think the Bears are closer to quitting this year than they were last year. And the Lions are better than they were last year.
Also, this is a little bias, but when they benched their starting quarterback last year, Tyson Bagent could actually do things on the field. For a backup quarterback. He helped them a little bit.
Fields.
As opposed to Justin Fields, but also I just don't think Caleb Williams is paired with a great offensive mind.
Well, that's true.
I think
they need better coaching.
I think that's his problem. You get him better coaching, I think you'd be a much better quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I've got Detroit winning that by 10. My wild card pick, Marshall JMU over the 52.5. Both teams like to score. This is for Marshall getting to the Sun Belt title game. I think JMU has an outside shot if they beat Marshall, and then a bunch of other things happen.
Who else is in or going to get in the Fun Belt?
Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
But they're playing, ULM's playing Louisiana.
Yeah. Rivalry game.
Lafayette, whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah, Louisiana Lafayette is what we know them as. They want to just go by Louisiana.
But then Louisiana Monroe and Louisiana Lafayette are playing each other.
Okay.
So
I love the Fun Belt. Good football in the Fun Belt.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good league. All right, let's get to Dan's picks next. Dan is 29-33-1. We are all losing you money. If you were betting with any of us all season long, you would be in the red with any of us. But we're all hovering right near 500. So, I mean, this is pretty much just average guy picking at this point. Dan's college picks. He is going with KU as a 2.5-point favorite against Baylor on the road in Waco. You heard it from Michael Swain yesterday that KU in road games in the morning, the 11 a.m. window on the road, that has been a struggle for Kansas in the last couple of years. I seem to like this pick, though. I do like this pick, though. I think KU wins. I think KU's playing some of the best football of anyone in the country right now. And Baylor's good. I think KU's better. That's what Dan's pick is. KU as a 2.5-point favorite on the road. He is also going with Cincinnati plus 3.5 at home against TCU. I have not had a good feel for Cincinnati all year. They're coming off of an ass blasting at the hands of Kansas State this past weekend.
Yeah.
And I don't is TCU awful? Are they pretty good? Are they at least watchable? Every week it's a different team with TCU. I would have stayed away from that game, but I think Dan taking Cincinnati, I think that's the smart bet. I think taking the underdog at home in that one is the smart bet. So Dan is on two different Big 12 games there. From the NFL, Dan's got my Packers as a 3.5-point favorite against Miami. That line actually moved earlier. We published the story online with all of our picks. That's already up over at 580wibw.com. When it was 3.5, it has since moved down to 3. I think that so it's Packers by 3 right now. So someone with sharp money bet the Dolphins. Miami's been playing well offensively lately, but they can't play in the cold.
No.
They haven't been able to play in the cold the entire time they've existed. So it's hard for me to pick against Green Bay. I'll get to my pick for that game coming up later. Dan's pick, he's got the Packers to cover. He also has Arizona plus 3.5 at Minnesota. I like that pick. I almost took it, but I don't like when we copy picks. I'd rather have two different ones. So I let Dan have that one alone. I like Arizona plus 3.5. I think that's a really good game. I think that's going to be a really competitive game. I like that one. I like Dan's picks. He's also on the over for Michigan versus Ohio State. I don't have an explanation for that. I do know that Dan told me that is his lock of the week, is going with the game, if you will. I think I can pull it up right here. Yes, my lock is the over in the game. That was from Dan earlier today. So Michigan, Ohio State, I don't know. Ooh, man, I don't know about the over in that one. But Dan's been so good on his lock. He's been better on his lock than either of us by a sizable amount. Hard not to.
Do you want to
trust
hear
him.
what he put on the website?
Yes.
Quote, after 3 consecutive wins in the series, Michigan won't hold anything back and try to maintain their winning streak. After 3 consecutive losses, Ohio State would love to chance to embarrass their hated rivals, and they have the offensive talent to do just that. Either potential outcome has me feeling good about the over in this total.
Respect.
Yeah.
I got no beef with that. Again, Dan's been good with his lock, unlike me, who misses week after week after week. So Dan is going with that one, the over in the game, Michigan versus Ohio State. That total, by the way, 43 points. All right, my picks from first place. May I remind you, I am in first place. I have taken the lead. I am in first place. From college football, Illinois at Northwestern. The Illini are 8.5-point favorites. I am going to make my lock of the week, Illinois, in this one. This is not going to be a home game for Northwestern. They are playing this game at Wrigley Field. Stupid, don't like it. It's bad, but I digress. They're playing this game at Wrigley Field. Illinois fans outdraw Northwestern fans when they play the games in Evanston. Playing in Chicago itself, this is going to be a 75% Illinois crowd. Plus, Northwestern's terrible. Illinois has been pretty good. They've sputtered a little bit in the second half of the year. I think they're a better team. I think they've got better players. They're going to have the home field advantage at Wrigley in one of those stupid baseball field games. So I am going to go with my lock, Illinois Northwestern. That's not even one of those throw out the record books when these teams play in a rivalry kind of thing. They don't like each other, but also it's just not that kind of rivalry. I am also going to McGurk Alumni Stadium in Amherst, Massachusetts. UConn versus UMass. I cannot use on the air what the nickname of that bowl is. If you want to find it out, you can go Google the name of the Connecticut versus Massachusetts rivalry. UConn, 10.5-point favorite over UMass. I am going to go with the Huskies. They are 7-4. UMass is really bad. I'm going to go with Jim Mora Jr.'s group. I say they get to 8 wins. Talk to your children about 8-win UConn. Meanwhile, from the NFL, Chargers, they lost on Monday night to the Ravens. They were kind of outclassed in that game. They go on the road to Atlanta, favored by 2.5. Risky number on the road, and I'm going to still take the Chargers as a road favorite. I don't believe in Atlanta. We're 12 weeks into the season, and Kirk Cousins still can't even move. Their defense is as bad as we all expected it would be at the start of the year. Give me the Chargers. I think they win that game, probably more by a touchdown than even by a field goal. I will take Jim Harbaugh in LA. I'm also on the Patriots at home, +3 against Indianapolis. I actually bet on the Patriots this past week. Did not go well. They got their asses kicked. I'm going to do it again, though. I'm believing in Drake May. I kind of like what that New England offense is doing. I like kind of the structure of it. I also don't trust Indianapolis farther than I can throw it. So give me New England +3 at home as a home dog. My wild card for the week, I'm going with an under. Oklahoma versus LSU under. Oklahoma's offense is booty. LSU versus the OU defense also doesn't feel like a recipe for a lot of success. That is 47.5 points to the total. I am going to take the under. That is my wild card pick for the week. So we all went with a total. We all, in fact, went with a college football total for our wild cards this week. All right. We, by the way, in our viewing area for this weekend, we are going to get on Fox. We have a noon kick. That is the Arizona versus Minnesota game. Most of the country, in fact, gets that game. That's our local game on Fox in the noon window. Noon on CBS, we will get Steelers versus Bengals. Bengals are out of the playoff hunt for all intents and purposes, but that's going to be a fun one. Looking forward to that
favored?
game. What was that?
They're favored at home.
Yeah, they've been pretty good against the Steelers in the last few years. That line is surprising. It makes me want to take Cincinnati. Like, why are they favored?
Yeah,
something has to be triggering
yeah.
that. Yeah, very odd. And then the afternoon game, the entire country is getting Eagles versus Ravens. That's going to be fun. That is a big, that's a matchup of big, meaty men slapping meat. That is a game I am super excited for.
I feel bad if you're in North Carolina, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, or Los Angeles, because you have to watch those teams' home market games.
Yeah, you gotta watch this. I don't even know who are playing in these games.
Ravens, Saints, Buccaneers, Panthers are the other two games that are slated for the afternoon window.
Yuck. Ugh. Yeah, that's not pretty.
Dumpster
One bit.
juice.
As for the Thanksgiving Day games, because we had some folks asking if we would get picks on those as well. We'll go through these quickly. Lions, as you said, as you mentioned, big favorite over Chicago. I'm taking the Lions too. I would not be surprised if they cover a 10-point spread. I think the Lions are going to win that game one way or the other. That's the best team in the NFL right now. Afternoon game. Tommy Cutlets versus Cooper Rush. Giants versus Cowboys. That's going to suck.
It's going to suck, but I think the Giants are going to win. The Cowboys are 0-5 at home at Jerry World, the place where they're supposed to be 5-0, supposed to be the best team ever, America's team. They can't win a game at home. They're not going to win a game at home, at least through this week.
Do you know who is performing at halftime of those two games?
Yes, I do. Lainey Wilson.
She's at the Dallas game. Do you know who's in Detroit? Your guy Shabuzi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which performance are you more excited for?
I don't know.
Country music insider Spencer Dupuis. Shabuzi, who you've seen, or Lainey Wilson?
I've also seen her.
Have you really?
Yeah.
No, well, there you go.
Pittsburgh last year.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Dan would choose Lainey Wilson. That's an inside joke. If you know, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would too.
The night game on Thanksgiving, Miami at Green Bay. This is the game of the day by far.
Wait, who are you picking?
That stat about Dallas has me worried. I did not know the official record. I'll go with the Giants. I'm going to flip my pick. I was going to go Cowboys. I'm going to flip because of that. Packers versus Dolphins. Dolphins have been playing well. The Packers defense is gettable. Miami also, though, can't stop the run and also can't play in the cold. Green Bay runs the ball really well and can play in the cold.
Bingo.
So I'm going to go Green Bay.
That's where I'm going as well.
I understand. I think Miami is going to make it competitive. I do. But yeah, give me Green Bay in that one. Spread is 3. Dan had it at 3.5 earlier. I'd probably lean Green Bay.
Until he shows me he's not, Tyreek Hill's washed.
You're going to see a lot of Josh Jacobs this weekend. I'm sorry, tomorrow. You're going to see a lot.
I'm just saying, until he shows me otherwise, Tyreek Hill is not the best receiver in the NFL. He is washed. He's had one game over 100 yards this year. That was week 1.
Yeah, that's tough. That is.
He hasn't had more than 80 yards in a game this year.
Yeah, his last 48 yards on 5 catches last week. Not only that, Spencer, he's gone 3 straight weeks under 10 yards per reception.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Something's going on there.
No, I'm right there with you. Only 571 yards for the year. That'll do it for our Prairie Band Sportsbook Picks competition. Let's get to a quick break. When we come back, it is time to choose our winner for What Is Wrong With You in the month of November on 580 Sports Talk. time for us to find the monthly champion for November in What Is Wrong With You. Brendan Brzezinski here. Spencer Dupuis will be in with us in just a moment as well as we find our monthly champion. We've had a great month, but only 2 stories have made it to the finals, and only one will walk out as our monthly champion. Let's get to our 2 stories, our 2 finalists for this month. We begin with the bogus Boston Botox, and we meet 38-year-old Rebecca Fatinelli, the owner of a pair of spas in Randolph and southeastern Massachusetts, who's accused of earning nearly $1 million by injecting clients with counterfeit Botox and fillers. This is Botox. I'm trying to do a Boston accent, I guess. Botox that she bought on Alibaba, the Chinese marketplace. It's kind of like Chinese eBay, Chinese Amazon. You might have also heard of AliExpress. I own multiple NBA jerseys that were sold on AliExpress. One of them is a sick Sharif Abdur-Rahim jersey. I've got a Hakeem Olajuwon too. They're awesome.
I have jerseys that I've gotten from there that have the patches reflect like they're reflected. They look like they're flipped.
Mirrored?
Yeah, mirrored. And I'm like, okay.
That's pretty funny, actually.
They were like $8 or $15, whatever. Who cares?
Doesn't take that long to get them. They're cheap. Like, I would never tell you, where to go find those jerseys, but they don't really do that on AliExpress anymore. You got to look a little harder these days. Not that I would know. So she bought some vials of Botox online. They cost generally $650 per vial for legit Botox. She was paying $50 a vial. The charges that Fatinelli is facing carry a maximum sentence of up to 20 years, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of $250,000. Her 2 lesser charges carry sentences of up to 10 years each in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and again, $250,000 worth of fines. Federal prosecutors are also asking any clients of Fatinelli to complete a questionnaire online if you have gone to her since 2001. This was years of counterfeit Botox, man. Awful.
24 years.
What was that?
24 years.
It's unbelievable. All right. Our second finalist, the man who is banned from Ulta Beauty for life. In Lee County, Florida, Opelika to be specific, a man was arrested on first-degree terrorist threat charges after allegedly threatening to blow up an Ulta. His colorful threats matched the colorful marker drawings on his face. 42-year-old Timothy Lincoln was arrested after allegedly being overheard by an Ulta Beauty employee saying, quote, "I'm going to blow this bleep up." The employee called authorities, to which all employees of the establishment had to evacuate. Officers arrived on scene and took him into custody. He has multiple scribbles across his face, including some letters that are supposed to be Latin, biblical kind of acknowledgement. He also drew a crown of thorns on his face. His beard is dyed blue. And again, he threatened to blow up an Ulta. He has been banned from Ulta Beauty for the rest of his life. All right, Spencer, I will go with you first. Who is your November monthly championship pick?
The Ulta Beauty.
Interesting. Why'd you go with that one?
Because, dude's banned from life from this place.
The whole chain, I think.
Yeah, you can't go anywhere. It's not just one place. It's like when you get banned from NFL or from an NFL stadium, you get banned from all of them.
Yeah.
So you can't ever step foot in there. What if you're supposed to get your girlfriend something, right? Or your wife? What if she wants? Sorry, honey, I can't go there. I'm not allowed to go there.
I'm banned because I threatened to blow the place up. I am surprised you went with that. I have known all day I'm going with the bogus Boston Botox. This woman was selling $50 Botox vials. She was charging full price for knockoff Chinese Botox and was injecting it regularly into people's faces. That one is so outlandish and otherworldly, incomprehensible to me. That one gets my pick. So we have to go to Dan's, which has been written in invisible ink on our show notes, only to be revealed if we needed it for the tiebreaker. And now I can tell you that our winner for the month of November in What Is Wrong With You is banned for life from Ulta Beauty. I can't believe it.
Wow.
He says, truly one of the best kickers to a story. She put fake knockoff Chinese Botox in people's faces. I am beside myself. Wow. This is democracy. The majority has spoken. I've been overruled.
Are you sure you're not going to ask for a recount?
I might. We've got a 3-minute commercial break. I might during that break. That is our winner, banned from Ulta Beauty for Life. Wow, a surprise. A big, big surprise. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Tim Fitzgerald. He's always full of surprises here on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, it is the one and only Tim Fitzgerald, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com. Go check out GoPowerCat, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, for all the best insight into what is going on with Kansas State athletics on the hardwood and on the gridiron. You can also go check him out on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the GoPowerCat YouTube channel and follow Fitz on Twitter at Life of Fitz. All right, Fitz, what is going to be on the Thanksgiving menu at Fitzgerald Manor coming up tomorrow?
Well, we're not actually cooking. We're going, my wife works at big retirement community, and we're going to spend a family Thanksgiving up there with some really nice people. And it's an incredible buffet they do every year because they've got a really nice restaurant at the community. So we'll be at Meadowlark Hills tomorrow with extended family, I guess you could say.
My wife and I went there for our Thanksgiving last year. Her great grandpa at the time was living there. I want to give a shout out to Prairie Fire Fits because that food is good.
Oh, they don't mess around. Yeah, it's a really good restaurant and bar that's there for the residents. It's pretty amazing.
No, they do a tremendous job over there. So, Fitz, thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, a lot going on with the holiday. Your crew, obviously, extremely busy with all that's going on over there in Manhattan right now. Let's start on the gridiron. How badly did Kansas State need to get that win over Cincinnati? And even more than the win itself, how badly did K-State need to go out and dominate in a game like they did against Cincinnati?
Yeah, they needed to play well. I mean, yeah, they needed to win, but they needed that and to do it playing well. And they did. And I think it kind of rebuilt some confidence, and maybe it was dented. And I think moving Connor Riley down to the sideline had, the twofold effect of, I think he was a more effective play caller because he was better connected to the game, not just kind of a observer up in a press box. And I think his offensive line responded to have him back on the sidelines because they played a really good game.
The offense was clicking right from the very beginning, and I don't think it is a coincidence that Avery Johnson was getting the legs churning early on. He looked great. He looked confident, both running the ball and throwing the ball. And it just felt, Fitz, at least to me, the untrained eye, it felt to me like that was a team that went out with a mission and a quarterback that went out with a mission to, again, prove a little something. Did you get that same vibe watching Avery this past weekend? Like he went out there with something to prove?
Yeah, I think, he knows he didn't play well, and he hadn't been able to run like he likes to because he's been banged up, and I think it took the wind out of his sails, so to speak. I think they green-lighted him to run, and he embraced it and did a lot of damage with it, and he's going to have to do that again this weekend because that's one of Iowa State's weaknesses. They've had problems with the quarterback run game.
Generally speaking, what do you make of this Iowa State team? Because they're also in the hunt right now for a trip to Arlington, just like, it's a 16-team league, but it feels like there's 25 teams that all have a chance to somehow make it to the Big 12 championship game this year. It's just been that kind of season. All these teams still in the mix. Iowa State is one of them. The Cyclones started out the year so well, but have not played to that same caliber of football over the last couple of weeks. What's your scout, Fitz, on this Cyclones team? Are they really good? Are they good but got lucky early on? What do you think of Rocco Becht? I think there's a lot of different threads you can pull at with this Iowa State team.
Yeah, I like Rocco Becht a lot, and I think that's, kind of a reflection of the team that they find ways to win, even when they don't play well. They've done that all season, with the exception of losing back-to-back games. And, if you're Iowa State, you lose those back-to-back games, you think, oh, we're in big trouble here. We're not going to make it to Arlington now. And then a week later, you, all of a sudden, boom, you're back in the game. But not only that, you're going to probably, if you win, you'll be in. I mean, you control your own destiny. So they went from the outside looking in to all of a sudden controlling their own destiny. And Arizona and Iowa State, they just need to win, and they advance.
We're chatting with Tim Fitzgerald, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for this week's edition of the Wildcat Wrap-up. Make sure you go check out GoPowerCat.com for all the best insight into everything that is going on with Kansas State athletics. And go be a VIP over at 24/7 Sports as well. That way you can get into Wabash Station, the VIP board, get all sorts of juicy information over there. You mentioned that Iowa State struggles against the QB run game. Do you think that this is the week where, and it's hard to say because, obviously on paper, well, they're not good at stopping the QB run, so just run the ball with your quarterback a bunch, but it's not as easy as to just, throw that into the game plan willy-nilly. So do you feel, Fitz, like there is enough evidence to think this is the kind of game where Avery might not just run in spots, but they might use him effectively as a running back in this contest? Or do you think it might, again, be a little bit more selective about when those plays are called?
Yeah, I think they'll be selective. I mean, he ran the ball 10 times last week. The additional runs and what he's been doing were designed runs. And I think they'll come out and do some of that and establish it. If they can get DJ Giddens going, that also lessens the need for Avery to be putting himself at risk. But I think they'll balance those two out. And Joe Jackson, I imagine, will get some carries. I'm not sure Dylan Edwards will be back. We'll find out. But it's going to be hard to take Joe Jackson off the field. He's been playing pretty well. So, I think they can mix up that run game. The thing is Avery's better at the edge, and DJ's typically better up the middle. And the edge has been a problem for Iowa State's defense. They don't seal it very well, and they get guys leaking out. So I'm be interested to see how K-State attacks that, because that's not typically what they do with DJ Giddens, but it could be very effective.
Looking at some of the advanced numbers for this matchup, and Iowa State's defense, not especially good on late down. So we're talking third down, fourth down. They're just 87th in the country out of, 134 FBS teams in terms of their defensive success rate on late downs. So to me, Fitz, that says K-State wins this game effectively if they are able to get into third and short, fourth and short, because Iowa State can't stop it. They're not good at shutting teams down there. That just screams to me, we're talking quarterback run game, but that feels to me like if you run the ball successfully, you should be able to win this contest. I know that was kind of Iowa State's recipe last year, but Abu Sama had the game of his life against K-State in the snow. Do you feel that same way, like an effective run game is not just going to set the tone, but might just be the skeleton key to opening up everything else on Saturday?
Yeah, it could be. It really could be. I'm intrigued by this matchup and how the two teams will fit together. And actually, I'm really interested in how emotional they'll be. I think Iowa State has all the reason to be stoked, and K-State might cruise into it. They've done that, but it'll be very interesting to see how they approach this game mentally.
We're chatting with Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com. He joins us every Wednesday at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. All of his and his crew's tremendous work can be found over at GoPowerCat.com and on the GoPowerCat YouTube channel. All right, Fitz, what's the pick? Is K-State going to get it done in Farmageddon on the road?
I like this matchup for K-State. As I studied Iowa State, I think they will. But the lack of predictability with the K-State team coming out of the locker room is what kind of makes me shy about it. They've been pretty casual heading into games. It's shown up in the first quarter. If you start slow against Iowa State and get behind, their defense is going to give you problems. They've had a lot of injuries on that front seven, particularly at linebacker, but they've been good enough to slow down teams for the most part. They do have their deficiencies, as we pointed out, quarterback run game and third downs and some things you can take advantage of. And K-State better go do that, or they're going to get beat and get their feelings hurt again because they don't like losing to Iowa State.
I wanted to get to some basketball here, Fitz, as well. And we talked about, for K-State football, how badly did they need that impressive win over Cincinnati? Well, how badly did K-State need to put a whooping on Longwood in their last game in the Virgin Islands? And maybe more specifically, how badly did Coleman Hawkins need to have a big game? He really struggled to start the season. Then he goes for 19-10 against the Lancers, said after the game to ESPN Plus on the broadcast that, look, I feel like I've been overthinking. Now I'm getting more comfortable. Well, it sure seemed like it. Felt like that was a game that he specifically needed more than anyone else, Fitz.
Yeah, I mean, he even apologized to fans after the game for the way he had been performing. And I had done daily delivery about him and others on the team gets kind of shown a lack of effort, just kind of cruising and don't seem very invested in what they're supposed to be doing on the basketball court. And he kind of changed that narrative in the Islands. He played pretty hard the whole time. And then we saw him have some offensive success against Longwood that was much needed. The entire team seemed to relax when Coleman Hawkins started scoring. And in the second half, they shot like 62.5% from the field. They were better than 50% for the game at 3-point range. And that was their best offensive efficiency in terms of that game so far this season. If Coleman Hawkins can kind of stay, up in there, round hitting double-doubles every time, even if it's like 9-9, I mean, he's going to just help that K-State team tremendously with that stability.
Do you think he can be the go-to late game bucket guy? We were saying this earlier in the week after that loss to Liberty, which was a true disappointment, obviously, but that it felt like this team was lacking that must-have bucket getter. And for good or for worse, this K-State team this year is going to be compared to that 23 team all season long. And that team had Marquise Noel, who was never afraid, and Keontae Johnson, who, as the kids say, was a bucket. You had those guys. Can Coleman Hawkins be that must-get-a-bucket guy for this team?
I think so. I mean, probably, I want to see some more from his outside shooting that has grown more consistent than it has been earlier in his career. And I think he can handle the ball well enough to trust him to go do the right thing. I don't think he's as good a finisher around the rim as I thought he would be. At least he hasn't been so far. But I think when you got Brendan Housen shooting from three and Doug McDaniel kind of taking it to the hoop, I thought they got a little confused against Liberty. And McDaniel came down and rushed up a three-pointer when it probably should have been Housen getting the look. But, yeah, they've got some guys. I think this team just has a lot more it needs to prove. Because just because you beat Longwood, which might be in the NCAA tournament this year, doesn't mean you've arrived. They got a long ways to go.
You mentioned him a moment ago in the context of that game, but I just wanted to add here, Fitz, I like Brendan Housen a lot. Having a guy who is just a sharpshooter like that is such a weapon. I like his game. I feel like he's going to be a really reliable player for this team when they're going to need some games where they shoot the ball really well from three against what looks like an unbelievably deep Big 12 this year.
I agree. He hit 3-pointers against Longwood and only took 4 so he hit 3 of 4 from distance, and he's been kind of a high volume shooter. Still pretty good percentage. I mean, he went 4 of 12, I think it was, against Liberty, and you kind of wince at that. Well, that 33% was better than what the team shot last year, and that was a bad night for him. So they're going to be more effective from the outside. But he can also go in. He's gotten into some rebounding. He defends well, and he can put it up right around the hoop too. He's not just a one-trick pony.
Cats are next in action coming up on Sunday, actually, when they take on Arkansas Pine Bluff. We are joined every Wednesday at this time by Tim Fitzgerald, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com. Head to GoPowerCat. Go subscribe to the VIP section because it is absolutely worth the cost of admission. All sorts of great insight into what's going on with the Cats. Follow Fitz on Twitter as well, @LifeOfFitz. As always, Fitz, we appreciate you for swinging on by. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, brother. And we're at 75% off now for Black Friday, so it is a perfect time to get subscribed to your school's 24/7 sports site.
Do it. We here at the crew are all subscribers. It is absolutely worth it. Go do it right now. Fitz, we appreciate it, man. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. You bet.
That is the great Tim Fitzgerald. We have to get to a quick timeout. We'll wrap up this 4 o'clock hour next on 580 Sports Talk. Final few seconds of this 4 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer done with us. He's heading home for the weekend to enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday here at the top of the hour.
No, I'm heading home to come back here and then work more.
Well,
so if you want to listen to the early morning ag roundup, be tomorrow 6 to 7, and then Friday 5 to 7, and I'll be here all day Friday.
So you'll hear more of Spencer. We'll get a little breather tonight then.
Yes.
All right, real quick, got about 20 seconds here. We know you're having steaks as the main course tomorrow. What's the side dish situation going to look like?
We got bread, Obviously, like
Classic.
bowls, mac and cheese, some salad.
Okay.
There was something else, and I totally forgot. Well, we did get a cheesecake, though.
Ooh, what flavor?
Regular, newer style.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to you. Enjoy
as
the
well.
holiday. Best wishes to you and to Olivia, and we will see you on Sports Talk on Monday.
Yep.
We have one more hour of 580 Sports Talk coming your way. We'll lead it off with headlines, plus Paul Myerberg will join us after the news right back here on 580 Sports Talk. hour left on 580 Sports Talk today. 1 hour left on 580 Sports Talk this week. I am Brendan Dworzinski with you the rest of the way, flying solo in our studios high up on Huntoon Hill here in the capital city of Kansas. Thanks for spending some of your afternoon hours with me, whether you're listening along on 580 AM or 104.9 FM in the capital city, online at 580wibw.com, or on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can go find us. A couple of people have subscribed to the YouTube channel during the show today, so really appreciate you guys for patronizing our video product. I do think we do a really good job online. All sorts of good stuff up there. The show is on there every single day. We've got our instant reaction shows. We are planning to do a Chiefs instant reaction, by the way, coming up on Friday, Black Friday, after the Chiefs are done taking on the Raiders in what I think is going to be a blowout win for Kansas City. We'll get to a little bit more on that later on in the show today. So we will get to that coming up on Friday. You'll be able to see that over on our YouTube channel. Reactions anytime we go to KU or K-State. Those are up there. There's some Washburn content as well, some high school content, the YouTube shorts, Immaculate Grid with Dan. All sorts of great stuff can be found over on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. We're up to 681. 4 of y'all have subscribed today. So thank you. That was very kind of you. We're looking to get to 700. Can we do it by the start of the new year? We'll find out, but we appreciate it. If you haven't checked it out, would love for you to do so. Just go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, hit that subscribe button, and then hang out with us in the video feed of the show. You can leave a comment there all day long. You're also welcome to be a part of the show via the text line 785-272-9429, or as Spencer just found out today, that's 785-272 WIBW. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to here in just a matter of moments as we lead off this final hour of the program today. We will also get to Paul Myerberg, who is going to join us, one of our favorite interviews. We had some of our absolute best interviews all jam-packed into one day today. We had Matt Derrick earlier on. We had Tim Fitzgerald last hour. Appreciate both of them joining us. And now Paul will stop by coming up in just about 15 minutes or so. We'll be joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the great Paul Myerberg, who is going to join us to talk a little college football, a little Big 12 football as we go into the final weekend of the regular season. We'll also take our own look at some of the biggest games, both in college football and the NFL, coming up this weekend. Thanksgiving week, rivalry week in college football, Thanksgiving triple header in the NFL. Hard to beat this time of year on the gridiron. Plus your texts, again, 785-272-9429. And also your comments on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, let's get to them. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. Did not have a full injury report ready for you at the top of this hour. Normally, we would have expected the injury status report for the game to be in by this point for both the Chiefs and the Raiders. Unfortunately, we have gotten no such thing. But do have a couple of quick headlines to get to from the Kansas City Chiefs. We are expecting to see Charles Omenihu and Isaiah Pacheco both ready to go, hopefully, for this game coming up on Black Friday. Earlier on today, Andy Reid, during his weekly Wednesday media availability, said that Pacheco and Omenihu will play, quote, as long as they're okay. Thank you, Andy. He goes on to say, we'll check on it again today, try to take it day by day. If they're good after today, then we'll play them. Pacheco obviously adds some explosion to the running game that the Chiefs otherwise really don't have. I think Kareem Hunt deserves a lot of credit for keeping that game afloat since being signed several weeks ago after Pacheco went on IR. Samaje Perine hasn't run the ball a lot. He's been mostly your pass-catching back and your pass-protecting back. Carson Steele probably going to see his snaps disappear except for special teams. So good to get Isaiah Pacheco back in that regard. The explosiveness of the run game is one of the few things that the offense is missing right now, outside of blocking on the offensive line. So that is certainly a positive for this Chiefs team. No doubt about that. Very, very, very good to get Pacheco back. Defensively, I think there's a lot of pressure on Charles Omenihu, to be completely honest with you. He tore his ACL last year in the first half of the AFC Championship game against the Ravens. Has not played since then. The Chiefs' pass rush has stunk. Let's just be blunt about it. They did not generate nearly enough pressure on Bryce Young last week. Dan had the stat for you going into Monday's show following the win over Carolina, a very narrow win by the Chiefs over the Panthers, that Bryce Young has actually been really, really good against the blitz since returning from his benching earlier on in the season. He's among the very best quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of how he's performed against the blitz by passer rating. Chiefs weren't able to heat him up unless they were sending extra rushers, and predictably, Bryce Young made some plays, made some things happen, had a little juice. So the Chiefs have to find a way to get more pressure on the quarterback. I don't think they will need to have an elite showing on the defensive line coming up in this game against the Raiders, because Las Vegas just has so many freaking problems across that roster and with their coaching. I don't think it's necessary, and Amenahu probably won't be all the way up to speed in his first game, so it's not that huge of a deal. But there's a lot of pressure on him to perform because nobody else right now is finishing off sacks or generating enough pressure. So that is going to be huge for the Chiefs if indeed they are able to get back Charles Amenahu on defense and Isaiah Pacheco on offense. Hopefully those two were all good to go and had no issues today, no setbacks, anything like that. So certainly a positive trend here for the Chiefs as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. Also, Antonio Pierce, who I've bashed all day on the show, I do not think he's a very good coach. He spoke today about facing the Chiefs. You've got to hear this quote. I'm going to play the audio for you. This is Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and what this matchup is between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Take a listen. I'm sorry, Antonio, can we hear that again? How many coaches call their own team the worst team in football so willingly? I'm sure that is a motivational tactic by Antonio Pierce, but that's wild, man. You do not hear that very often or, frankly, ever, and he was more than happy to say it. I respect it. I don't think he's right, by the way. I don't think they might be, man. The Giants are close. The Giants have a little juice defensively. The Raiders are awful. They really, really, really stink. I think they're going to draft Shedeur Sanders. I am fully in that camp. I know that's the major, normie narrative opinion, is that those two are going to end up in a partnership, and that also the Raiders are going to fire Antonio Pierce and hire Deion Sanders. I'm sure Pierce has heard that at this point. I think they're going to draft Shedeur Sanders. He is so Raiders. It is unbelievable. And I think he is going to end up with Las Vegas in the draft. But we'll get to that coming up in the spring. So those are your notes on the Chiefs and the Raiders. If we have an injury report for you by the end of the show, we will get it to you today. All right, let's get to, we seem to have a minor technical difficulty going on the YouTube right now, but we'll try to get that figured out. I think it was just the Antonio Pierce clip that wasn't playing. My apologies to you guys. I'm not sure why that would have been, but let's get back to it. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. Next one for me, still from the NFL. Daniel Jones has a new home. The former starting quarterback of the New York Giants has signed with the Minnesota Vikings. This is the writing of Kevin Seifert, who's the Vikings beat writer for ESPN. Former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones is signing with the Vikings. Coach Kevin O'Connell said Wednesday, a notable move for a team likely facing another quarterback transition in the offseason. Jones became a free agent Monday for clearing waivers following a mutual decision to move on from New York. He asked to be cut. They did end up cutting him. The Vikings are signing Jones for $375,000 for the rest of the season. That's a veteran minimum, essentially. He'll be a free agent once the year comes to a close. O'Connell said Wednesday that Jones is scheduled to join the practice squad Friday morning, pending the finalization of his quote-unquote one-year contract. O'Connell said there was no need to think about the future implications and added there are short-term and long-term conversations that are going on at every position on our roster. The Vikings do not have to make any other moves since it is just a practice squad addition. Sam Darnold is their starting quarterback. J.J. McCarthy is their quarterback of the future. That's really all there is to that. I know I just read this headline and a little bit of the story about it, so maybe I'm part of the problem. Daniel Jones is getting way too much airtime. Way too much airtime for the kind of quarterback he is. Sounds like a great guy. Sounds like a great locker room presence. We've had a week almost now of Daniel Jones watch. Ooh, where's he going to sign? When he gets released, does he clear waivers? Where is he going to end up? Is he going to go to a team that needs a quarterback now, or is he going to go to a contender? Guys, who cares? He stinks. He's a bad player. He's always been a bad player. Best game of his career was a playoff game against, funny enough, Minnesota, where the whole thing was he was running the ball. Can't throw. We have spent, as a football public, so much time on a guy. Maybe it's because it's the New York thing. Maybe people feel bad because he is a nice guy and a good teammate, and they feel bad that the Giants thing ended so poorly. Guys, he sucks. A bad quarterback. There's no need to make... Ooh, what? Minnesota, that's a good move for them. He's a backup quarterback. That's it. They already have their QB of the future even. This isn't even a reclamation project. Way too much airtime on Daniel Jones. So we, in fact, are going to move on from the Daniel Jones headline. Let's get to college football. The newest college football playoff rankings are out. Still at the top, Oregon. They remain number 1 this week. Ohio State for the second week in a row is number 2. Texas and Penn State for the second week in a row are 3 and 4. Notre Dame is up 1 spot to number 5. Miami up to 6. Georgia jumps 3 spots. They are number 7 this week. The rest of the top 10 includes Tennessee at 8. That is a leap of 3 spots for the Volunteers. Number 9, SMU. They're up 4 spots into the top 10. And then number 10 overall is the Indiana Hoosiers. They fell from 5 last week after losing to Ohio State. The rest of the top 12, Boise State is 11. Clemson is number 12. That is significant that Boise State is number 11 because did you hear any Big 12 teams? I didn't. Remember, the 4 byes in the first round of the college football playoff don't go to the Power 4 conference winners. They go to the 4 highest ranked conference winners. And if the winner of the Mountain West is ranked higher than the winner of the Big 12, then that Mountain West team is going to make it into the playoff. The top 5 conference champions, top 5 ranked conference champions are the ones who get into the playoff field regardless, which is significant because this week, the highest ranked Big 12 team is Arizona State all the way down at 16. That is 1 spot ahead of Tulane, which has a chance to win the American Athletic Conference. If it does, and it leapfrogs over Arizona State, it is very possible, if not downright likely, the Big 12 would be left out of the college football playoff. We'll talk about this a little bit more with Paul Myerberg coming up here in just a moment. Your other Big 12 teams in the poll, by the way, Iowa State is 18th. BYU is 19th this week. Kansas State back in the rankings. The Cats are number 24. Colorado is number 25 in the rankings this week. One other final headline for you. If you are a baseball fan, a Royals fan probably, who hates that there is such a discrepancy and a disparity between the big market teams and the small market teams and what they pay, well, you probably hate this headline. The Los Angeles Dodgers have agreed to a 5-year, $182 million contract with left-handed starting pitcher Blake Snell. The deal is pending a physical. It includes no opt-outs, some deferred money, and $52 million of it is signing bonus. Blake Snell, former Cy Young winner, former 2-time Cy Young winner. He had a 5-year, $182 million deal. He's the 4th highest paid player on the Dodgers. $182 million is the 4th biggest deal just for the reigning World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. I am not going to use this time to get on my soapbox about the need for a salary cap or salary floor or anything like that, because I don't believe that's ever going to come to Major League Baseball. But I do think it is important, at least for the other major market teams, the big market teams, so to speak, try! Put in some effort! This is embarrassing. Embarrassing that the Dodgers get to hoard talent like this and also do the deferred money crap. That's nonsense. But still, where are the other teams trying? Give me a break. That's mostly for the big market teams. Royals kind of exempt for that, but also not. The Royals wanted to find $182 million over 5 years. They could. It'd be tough, but they could. It just sucks to watch 1 to 2 teams hoard all the talent. got them World Series last year, and I guess in the end, that's all that matters if you're the Dodgers, or should be all that matters for any team in Major League Baseball. That does it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. We owe you a commercial break. When we come back, we will hear from the great Paul Myerberg of USA Today for an early edition of the Big 12 Breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us now on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, a day earlier than normal since tomorrow is Thanksgiving after all. We are joined by the great Paul Myerberg, who covers all things college football for USA Today, America's newspaper. He joins us every week for the Big 12 Breakdown. The first thing I've got to ask you, Paul, and this has nothing to do with football, but it does have everything to do with Thanksgiving, because last year you and I talked, and I got to hear about your in-laws' absolutely terrible overcooked ham. Will ham again be on the menu for Thanksgiving this year?
Yeah, it's tomorrow. I'm eating right. I'm like starting to eat now because I'm not going to eat tomorrow. It's just so bad. And I can only really share with you guys because I know that they're not tuning in from Queens, New York. But if they were tuning in, this is my chance to be honest. That ham is terrible. And it's not easy to mess up ham. Like I've had ham in every state, maybe except for the Dakotas. And it's really hard to mess up. But the worst ham I've ever had in my life will be tomorrow. Until next year when the ham will be just as bad. And the sad thing, guys, I will delude myself into eating it tomorrow because that's how much I want to eat some ham. So I will delude myself like this is the year. Then I'll know the minute my fork goes into that thing and it shatters on impact that this is going to be bad again, but I'll still eat it. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm also just a glutton, period.
Okay, so to that point, are there at least going to be some good sides on the table that you'll be able to, make up some of the taste with?
I mean, yeah, but everything is relative. Like the stuffing isn't bad, but it's only because it's next to the ham. I don't really think any of the food tomorrow is any good. And this is so cathartic for me. I feel like I'm just unloading right now, but none of the food tomorrow will be bad. And I know I'm not like you have listeners who are going through the same thing, who are like happy it's Thanksgiving. We're going to watch a lot of college football tomorrow from noon until 11:30 p.m. And the food won't be any good. And they'll complain about it. They'll still eat it, but they'll complain about it. And so I know I'm not alone here, but it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad, bad, bad. And I'm going to be one of those few people probably who leaves Thanksgiving and has to get food on the way home because I have to eat. Eating is important to me. And I'm not going to get my fill tomorrow. This is getting upset. I'm going to be okay.
Well, Paul, I am sorry that it's not going to be a fulfilling Thanksgiving meal, but thankfully there's going to be a lot of college football to watch. There's going to be some games on Thursday, plenty on Friday, a ton on Friday. In fact, games all day Saturday as well. So we've got plenty of college football to hopefully at least partially fill the void going into this weekend. I wanted to start before we get to our local teams, KU and K-State, obviously big games coming up this weekend, but I wanted to kind of take a 1,000-foot view of the Big 12. So much discourse, obviously, around the playoff rankings this week. How good is the Big 12 actually? My question is less how good is the conference, but more so, is it better for the Big 12 to just be competitive, watchable, fun football week in, week out, which I think it has been, or is it better for the conference to be, guaranteed a top 4 spot in the playoff? I think there's an argument either way. Where do you land on which is better for the Big 12?
Yeah, so the answer can be, you can give an answer from two different perspectives. If you're in the Big 12 offices and you're with your Mark, his answer is we'd rather have one Ohio State, one Georgia, one Oregon, a team that everyone's talking about, a team that's in the top 4, whether or not they win a conference championship or not, that is so dominant and so far ahead of the pack that it puts the Big 12 on the map as a conference nationally, even if teams 2 through 16 are kind of trashy. They would want that. I believe that the best college football that you can get right now in the Big 12 is by having this sort of parity. I think that's great college football. And week to week, we've seen that. It's been fun. It's been enjoyable every week because you don't know what to expect.
I personally, just from a fan perspective, Paul, prefer that as well. Like, hey, look, whatever the committee chooses for the playoff, I'm going to watch it anyway. And if it doesn't involve my alma mater, I'm going to watch no matter what. I'm not going to have any feelings toward it. I think as a fan, I would rather just know I'm getting a good product week in, week out, instead of saying like, oh yeah, we love the SEC. Yeah, well, Mississippi State's included in that. Like there are plenty of garbage programs in those conferences too. I'd rather just know that 1 through 16, there's always going to be a good game.
Yeah, and that's what you get in this league. And you know what? I thought that was going to be the case when this league formed. I did not think based on face value that it was going to have a team that would be one of the 4 best in the country. That's not the state of the programs right now that are atop this league. They're not top 4 nationally programs as currently stated. But you had this suspicion that this was going to be a damn fun league. And look, yeah, you got Arizona, Utah, and Oklahoma State preseason top 25 teams at the bottom. But Arizona State rebounding, BYU rebounding, Colorado coming out of nowhere, even Baylor. I just think that this whole league is so much fun. And it tells you about what was great about college football. What's great about college football is unpredictability. And the Big 12 has that in spades.
We're chatting with Paul Myerberg, who covers all things college football for USA Today, and he joins us usually on Thursdays here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, but kind enough to be flexible with the schedule this weekend to join us today with the holiday obviously coming up tomorrow. All right, Paul, let's get into some of the action in the conference itself. Let's start with my Kansas Jayhawks because they're playing like the best team in the country right now. They went out and they beat Colorado by 16 points this past weekend, and in a game involving the Heisman favorite, Travis Hunter, the best player in the game was Devin Neal of Kansas. So KU's playing great ball, another win over a ranked team. They go to Waco to take on a Baylor team that is surprising to pretty much everyone, myself included. What do you make of this matchup for KU and the Bears this weekend?
Yeah, for KU, they are playing as well as any team in the country, and if the schedule worked in reverse and they were 3 games in moving forward right now, they would clearly be the Big 12 favorite, and they'd even be a favorite to be a legitimate legitimate 12-0, not like a 12-0 against a weak schedule. This is a legitimately great team the way they've been playing in recent weeks. I said it last week. I'll say it again. They were winning this game. They are not losing again this season. I don't even care what bowl game they're playing. They're winning that game too. This is a team that knows and has grasped and understands who they are. And I think it took going through the fire to figure out that who they are is a bunch of bullies. And they played bully ball against Colorado, against a finesse team. And Colorado had a meltdown, not a Kansas State in Provo meltdown, but a 60-minute meltdown, like a crisis of confidence and identity crisis. When you don't force Kansas to punt one time, and it was 37-21, it could have easily been 50-21. That's just a back-breaking result for Colorado. And Kansas, this had been cooking for weeks and weeks and weeks. Once they got out of their own way, embraced their mentality of being bullies, this is who they've become. So I don't care that Baylor's hot right now. I don't care that Baylor's got potentially something to play for, if not the very, very, very slim chance of getting to the Big 12 championship game, if that even exists anymore. At least the opportunity to get higher in a pecking order, get a better bowl game. I don't care. I think this is a Kansas win, and I think you go into the postseason and you win that game. Like I said last week, you're back in the preseason top 25 going to next season. It's a remarkable, remarkable turnaround, and I do not think for a moment that it ends at 5-7. I think they get to 6-6 and win this one. Maybe not 37-21. I think both teams are going to get into the 30s potentially, but this is another win. They're not stopping now.
Is Devin Neal the best running back in the Big 12?
Well, I mean, if you had said that back in September, or you said it back in the preseason, the answer would have been no, right? Because you had guys like, I don't know, you had Ollie Gordon, who's had a terrible season. You've had other guys who are coming off good years. You had DJ Giddens in Manhattan. You had really good running backs, but there's no doubt in my mind that he is the most important running back in the league, the most impactful running back in the league. And I say that knowing that this is a pretty good league for running backs. I mean, it's going to be a crowded competition for those two teams. RJ Harvey, Brooks, Scatterbo. I mean, even Giddens. There's a lot of competition for that title. But look, like what he did on Saturday, people paid attention to that. 287 yards of total offense, 4 touchdowns, just dominating Colorado. There's been some good backs in KU history, right? I think Devin Neal's in that conversation for the best of all time. Certainly he's on the Mount Rushmore of best backs in program history.
We're joined by Paul Myerberg, who covers college football for USA Today, hopping on with us here on 580 Sports Talk for this week's Big 12 breakdown. Meanwhile, the Kansas State Wildcats, they're back in the college football playoff rankings this week. They've got Farmageddon in Ames taking on Iowa State. The last time these two teams played in Ames, it was a hideous ball game 2 years ago. But there's something on the line for both of these teams with the absolute car wreck that's at the top of the Big 12 standings right now. What is it going to take for K-State to take down an Iowa State team that has had plenty of chinks in the armor revealed over the last few weeks?
Yeah, and that is exactly it. This is going to be freezing cold as of right now. We're looking low 20s, I believe, when I looked the other day. This kind of game, what it comes down to, and this is not to be overly simplistic, it's whichever quarterback protects the football. I think these are two teams on defense and two teams with their offensive mentality that if you give them extra chances, or rather you take away chances from yourself, it's pretty easy for me from there to pick who's going to win this game. Kansas State obviously is not going to play for a conference title. They're not going to get in the playoffs. A lot on the line for Iowa State. At night, it's a tough game for me to say Kansas State is going to win this game, but you got to be foolish to say that they shouldn't or that they can't. Because if they play clean football, I think the clean team wins this football game. And importantly, when you get down into the 20s and it's this kind of atmosphere and it's going to be a hard-nosed game, I only trust one of these two teams to dominate the line of scrimmage with their running game. I only trust one of these two teams if push came to shove and it was about who can move a pile of 3 yards. I only trust Kansas State to win that battle. I certainly trust them on the defensive side to win that battle against a pretty average to worse Iowa State running game. So I'm going to take Kansas State here. It's a soft pick because I know Iowa State's got the world to play for. But I've said all along, I think Kansas State is the best team in this league. I think they are very disappointed about how the way things kind of unfolded in the second half of the year, certainly in the beginning with BYU. This is a chance for them to get a good taste in their mouths, end the season, the regular season on the right note. So I'll take Kansas State, but I really think, guys, this is going to be close. I can't see either way unless some team is -2, -3, that the winner goes ahead and wins by 17 or 21 points. I just don't see that unfolding in this weather or this type of matchup.
There are 3 other teams currently in the top 25, Paul, in the Big 12 who will be in action this weekend, who all have some sort of chance to make it to Arlington in the Big 12 championship game. Now, I'm going to leave Colorado hosting Oklahoma State out on Friday morning, because yuck. Oklahoma State, utter disaster this year. I'm going to leave them out of the conversation. So for Saturday's games, Arizona State at Arizona or BYU hosting Houston, which of those 2 teams, ASU or BYU, is on upset alert the biggest?
Yeah, I think ASU is, and I've covered the Territorial Cup before.
It's a nasty game. That is an underrated, nasty rivalry.
Yeah, I remember being on the field. I think Scooby Wright had a huge play late in the game at the last one I was at in Tucson, and the celebration on the field was unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, this is bitter. It is nasty. It is pure hate between these 2 programs. And to me, Houston's so limited offensively and so putrid on offense, worst scoring offense in the country. I don't really think they're going to beat BYU. But yeah, Arizona State for sure. We know Arizona's a good team. I mean, they've got the same players that were on the rise last year, by and large, at the important spots. If McMillan plays, I believe he's going to. Arizona State, they're not on necessarily upset alert. But clearly between these 2 games, they're the one team being on the road against your bitter rival. This one could unfold in any number of ways for them. A lot of them could be bad.
A couple bigger picture Big 12 questions for you, Paul. Number one, how many coaches in the conference do you think are coaching their final game this weekend?
I think it's definitely 1. It could be 2, maybe even 3. And the 1, to me, I do believe this is Kyle Whittingham's last game. I think that announcement will come on Sunday or Monday. I'm not saying that because I've heard anything as of late, but as I told you guys, that's been the rumbling, that he's going to step aside. I don't think Neil Brown comes back. I even have heard that there are certain people at West Virginia, not the most important people, but certain people who are big donators, who are talking about, hey, let's bring back Rich Rod. And I think if they get enough hype and things go in there, that Rich Rod would go back, mend that relationship, as ugly as it was when he left.
Wow.
And I kind of think there is a chance that this is it for Gundy. But that would be the least likely of all of them. I think in order of likelihood, it goes Whittingham, Brown, and then Gundy. Unless I'm missing somebody, I think those are the 3 that you got to keep an eye on.
Rich Rod back in Morgantown would be that's one of those things that's like hard to believe. That to me is almost crazier than Bobby Petrino going back to Arkansas as an offensive coordinator, which in and of itself is preposterous that it's actually happening. But I just have a hard time seeing that. I mean, I obviously trust what you're telling us, Paul. That blows my mind to even think that's a possibility.
It's only a possibility because there are people there who are the dynamics have shifted, guys. Like, it used to be that you would give money to the university or to the athletic department, and that would dictate your field passes. That would dictate your sky booth. That would dictate your ability to get in front of the right people. There are so many different avenues now to donate to athletics, and so many different ways that you can get your fingers in the pie, that there are certain people there who are willing to overlook how it ended. And how it ended was one of the ugliest divorces between a coach and his home state school that he loved and was loved back in the history of college football. Almost nothing like it. But the big question is, are the important people, the president, the AD, the major boosters, the board of trustees, are they going to be swayed enough to take a swing at Rich Rod, knowing that there are still, I don't want to even estimate, let's just say it's 75% of the fan base who would puke at the idea of Rich Rod coming back. But things have gotten so stale with Neil Brown, and they have no idea, like, do we want to be a 6-6 program? Are we willing to accept that? That it's a gamble that I think that there are at least a portion of important people there who are willing to take it. I don't think it will get to that point. But if Neil Brown does go and they do fire him, it's because they have a coach in mind. Rich Rod would be in that conversation at a minimum. I would say that at a minimum, he would be on that list of people they would have in mind if they end up firing Neil Brown.
Wow. All right. So I wanted to ask too, playoff-wise, we were talking a little bit about it earlier on here in our conversation, Paul, but assuming there's no major upset in the next couple of weeks in the conference championship games and all that, do you think it's likely or almost certain close to happen that Boise State would jump over the Big 12 to get one of those buys in the first round? Or do you think that the power conference standing will help the Big 12 enough to stay in those first 4 buys in the playoff?
No, they're not going to leap ahead of Boise. I think the issue for like an Arizona State, for example, being the closest team to Boise, that you're getting nothing out of Arizona. It'd be different if they were playing Kansas State this weekend, as an example, and getting that top 25 win and then stacking another top 25 win potentially the following week. They're 5 spots back. Boise's going to beat Oregon State. Then they're going to play UNLV, who will be 20 to 22, 21 in the final rankings in the penultimate rankings. So no, they're not getting ahead of Boise State. Here's what you got to think about. And this is, again, I think I've mentioned this before. It's not unrealistic. If you have a 3-loss Big 12 champ, let's say one of these teams loses this weekend and rebounds to win the Big 12 at 10-3, let's say Arizona State or Iowa State. You have Tulane sitting there at 17 in the rankings. Tulane's playing a 9-win Memphis team on Saturday. Not a top 25 win, but a very good win. And they're playing Army the following Saturday. I believe that Army, if they beat UTSA and there are enough things that go on, they'll get back into the rankings going into that game. It is possible, though not probable, it is possible that a 3-loss Big 12 champ finishes behind 11-2 Tulane, despite that loss to Kansas State, which you have to keep in mind, and the Big 12 is left out entirely. Gosh. We'll know more about that next week when we talk. But that is a possibility that you have to at least consider, because it's not that unrealistic. It just is a little bit improbable.
Man, it hard to imagine, but yeah, obviously it's all too real that certainly could happen. All right, Paul, let's get to it. Our dumpster juice pick of the week. It was so hard for me to not go with one of our favorite games every year at Warren McGurk Alumni Stadium, UMass hosting UConn, legendary Northeast States rivalry. However, UConn's a bowl team. They're 7-4, and they're a 10.5-point favorite. Instead, I'm going to go to Conference USA and 2 teams that just cannot wait for this year to be over. From Pit Bull Stadium on Saturday, Middle Tennessee versus Florida International, 3-8 versus 3-8. Who you got?
Oh, no clue. All I know about this, Middle Tennessee State used to win 6 or 7 games a year. They were like Southern Miss, and now they're just abysmal. Florida International, also abysmal. I mean, I would say who cares? But we know no one cares. I don't even need to say that. I'm going to take FIU because they're at home. But by God, I don't have a clue what would happen in this game. At least it's on ESPN Plus. We've had like 3 games in a row that were on radio only. So if I really care, I can get that iPad going and watch this game. I'm not going to, but at least I could watch this one. We'll say FIU. I mean, guys, these games are getting worse by the week.
We've gotten to the bottom of the dumpster at this point. I will say, just looking at their schedules right here, Middle Tennessee's 3 wins have all been by 9 or fewer points, including a 14-5 win over Kennesaw State. FIU, at least when they win, they blow teams out. So I'd probably go FIU too.
Yeah, and look, FIU lost to Kennesaw, but look, I'm looking at them right now. They haven't had a double-digit loss since FAU back in September. Of course, one of those losses was Monmouth, the other one was UTEP, the other one was Kennesaw State. But ignore that. FIU is they're a sleeping giant, a potential juggernaut. They just got to close the deal. They've got to watch KU and learn how to seal the deal in the fourth quarter.
All they need is a Jalen Daniels and a Devin Neal, and they'll be just fine. Paul Myerberg joins us every week for the Big 12 football breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Make sure you go check out his great work covering college football in USA Today and at usatoday.com. Paul, thank you so much for being flexible with the schedule this week. Thank you so much for stopping by. My apologies in advance for the awful Thanksgiving dinner coming your way, but hopefully you can at least enjoy the football, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Talk to you next week.
That is the great Paul Myerberg. My chest hurts from laughing about his in-laws' ham. That's one of the funniest bits we have on this show. And I'm glad I brought it up again because, oh my gosh, I think that surpassed learning about that last season. We have to get to another break. We'll come on back. We've got more 580 Sports Talk coming up here on 580 WIBW. Final few minutes of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski here with you, wrapping things up. Final show of the week. Thanksgiving is tomorrow, obviously. No show for us. Hopefully you get to enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday with your loved ones. We are off Friday as well. We normally take Black Friday off. And the Chiefs are playing in the middle of the day anyway, so we wouldn't be here regardless. So we will be off Thursday and Friday this week for the holiday. Hope you get to enjoy some time alone with family, with friends, whatever it might end up being. Hope you get a good meal, at least one, maybe some leftovers mixed in there too. We will come back and see you guys and chat with you guys coming up on Monday. Wanted to get to some other news and notes from the football weekend. Big thanks to everybody who joined us today. Matt and Derrick back in the 3 o'clock hour, moved up Chiefs Insider this week so we could talk Chiefs Raiders. Great insight into that game. Our weekly talk with Tim Fitzgerald. The only guest we had today who was actually on his scheduled day. Talk to Fitz every Wednesday to get ready for K-State versus Iowa State in Farmageddon. Awesome insight from him as always. And Paul Myerberg joining us last segment to do the Big 12 breakdown. I'm serious. I'm going to think about Paul's in-laws cooking for another year. I remembered it so clearly from last year because he held so much disdain for it. Then he dropped that his fork shatters on impact when it touches the ham this year. And I'm just never going to stop thinking about it. Unbelievably funny. Appreciate Paul being flexible with us. Very Friday feeling to this Wednesday show here on 580 Sports Talk. Couple thoughts from the weekend. Obviously, the NFL slate, we picked all of the Thanksgiving games a little bit earlier and got to our picks contest as well. If you missed all of our picks this week, number one, I'm in first place. Two, you can go find those at our website, 580wibw.com. Our locks of the week, our 5-game picks, including the wild cards, they are all up over on the website right now. Thanksgiving games, I've got the Lions. I'm probably against the spread. The Bears just stink. Caleb Williams is playing better once they switched offensive coordinators, but man, they're just bad. Lions are killing everyone. I'll take the Lions. I will take the Giants on the road. Spencer convinced me of that one since the Cowboys are winless at home. And I got the Packers against the Dolphins. Until the Dolphins can prove they can play a good game in the cold, I don't think they deserve to be picked in the cold. And I also think Green Bay's playing really well. Dolphins can't really stop the run. Packers run it really well. I'm biased on this one. Give me Green Bay, though, coming up on Thursday night. As for the college football weekend, rivalry week, got some great games. There are so many games on Black Friday. I always forget how many games are played on Friday. The Egg Bowl is going to be an afternoon ABC kickoff on Black Friday this year. It actually goes right up against the Chiefs game. That'll be fun. Mississippi State is terrible, but that game always leads to some sort of utter nonsense. So I am looking forward to that one. I would love to see Georgia Tech beat Georgia. I do not think that is going to happen. Also, as Paul told us last segment, might be Kyle Whittingham's final game at Utah coming up when they take on UCF coming up on Friday. Saturday, you obviously get the game, Michigan versus Ohio State. Ohio State's going to go to the playoff one way or the other. I would not be shocked if they ended up losing to Michigan if they let Ryan Day go. Like that's what matters. Go to the playoff, win the national championship, beat Michigan. Those are the only three things that matter at Ohio State. They've lost 3 straight years to Michigan. Now, the Wolverines are bad this year. They're not entertaining. Their quarterback play is bad. Not well coached. Sharon Moore, certainly not Jim Harbaugh. Ohio State should beat them up during Big Noon on Saturday, but it'd be really funny if they didn't. I don't even like Michigan, but it'd be really funny if they didn't. I think South Carolina Clemson is going to be a fun battle. We were having some fun back and forth about that in the YouTube comments on the 580 Sports Talk stream a little bit earlier on today. South Carolina's up to number 15 in the country in the CFP poll. Clemson at number 12. They are right on the fringes of a spot in the playoff. That game could have major implications for the bottom tier of the playoff teams this year. So I'm super, super excited for that one. Obviously, Farmageddon is going to be huge. I like this matchup for Kansas State. Paul said he's got a close one. He thinks K-State can win. Fitz likes K-State in this one. I like the Cats too. I think the fact that Iowa State has been so bad defending 3rd and 4th downs, I think opens up the playbook a lot for K-State. And with so many dangerous running options, I think that might be the edge in this one. I'm going to take K-State as a road dog in Ames. It's going to be tough, no doubt about it. But I'm going to take K-State. I'm taking KU at Baylor. I think KU's playing better than anybody else in the Big 12 right this second, next to maybe Arizona State. I think KU's going to beat Baylor and get bowl eligible. I hope that is the case. Fingers crossed. But that's my hope coming up for this weekend. Should be a fun slate. Of course, we'll have K-State action on our airwaves, football on Saturday, then K-State basketball plays on Sunday, and of course, we'll have the Chiefs on Friday as well. Washburn basketball this weekend. Don't forget about the Ichabods, a men's then women's doubleheader on Saturday on our sister station, Country 106.9. We have to get to one final time out here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll come on back. My final word, what I'm thankful for this Thanksgiving season. We'll get to that to wrap things up on 580 Sports Talk right after this. Wrapping up 580 Sports Talk today, wrapping up 580 Sports Talk for the week. Brendan Dworzinski here with you. My final word with Thanksgiving tomorrow, I just wanted to share what I am thankful for this year on a personal level. I'm very thankful for my family, my growing family. It'll be growing here within the next couple of weeks. Just made that announcement yesterday. I'm not going to be the guy who talks about his kid all the time, I promise. But I do appreciate all the kind words you guys have sent out in the last 24 hours or so since I gave you that announcement yesterday that our little family here is growing. So I'm thankful for my wife, for our family, for getting to be here in a community that supports sports and this program so much. We would not be here without you. So to all the listeners on 580 AM, 104.9 FM, all you guys who hang out with us, guys and gals, who hang out with us in the YouTube and Facebook video every single day, really does mean a lot to our whole crew, but to me specifically. I do this because I love talking to you, love getting to talk sports, hang out, have some fun. So thank you guys for making this so fulfilling. Thankful for you. I hope you get to enjoy this holiday coming up tomorrow. If you have the day off, take advantage of it, whether it's family, whether it's friends. Hopefully it involves a good meal or at least a little time to relax and watch some football. Enjoy it while you can. We are off tomorrow. We are off Friday as well, but we'll be back on Monday with a whole host of things to get to. KU and K-State action, Chiefs football as well. Tons of other action from the football weekend. Matt Verderam is going to join us for our weekly chat about all things NFL. We are truly looking forward to it, and we hope you are too. If you missed any of the show today, don't forget you can go and check it out on Spotify. That's right, broken down hour by hour. Just search 580 Sports Talk. You'll be able to find it. Leave us a 5-star review if you don't mind on your way checking it out on Spotify. You can also, of course, always check out the video on YouTube as well. We will join you coming up on Monday. A very happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. We'll talk to you after the long holiday weekend right back here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW.